I stay down with the same gang every day now. When the thing changed, but the way out, it's the layout, nigga. Big M's, nigga. Yeah. Put the lights down, turn the bass up. One time for the pay cuts. And the price guy just squeezed the life out of shit. They tried but couldn't break us. What's all the fussing about? We grew up with nothing, my nigga, we still here. That fake shit, we cutting it out. Money come, make sure the crew get their fair share.
Yo, what up, guys?
Yo, what is up, fellas? Good to see everybody. And welcome, audience, to another episode of Food for the Culture, where we bring you great conversation about uplifting stories, current events, pop culture, and, of course, dating. I'm your host, of course, Big Mike, a.k.a. the savant named Levant. We got Banks in the building. He'll be visible shortly.
Big facts.
And, of course, we got Mr. Josh Waring himself.
Yo, what up, guys?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, fellas? Good to see everybody. How's everybody's week been since we last been on here?
Busy.
I can imagine. I definitely want to get your thoughts on this, Banks, even if you're not visible, because the biggest story, the last week was, of course, we're going to start with the untimely passing of Mr. Chadwick Boseman. Josh and I talked about this on another show, but want to get your thoughts on it too, Banks. What do you think when you first heard about it?
First, I thought it was a joke. Like, I'm in a pool. Actually, I'm in a hot tub, and I'm talking to this couple, and I had brought my speaker out, we're listening to music, and they were like, "Oh, can you play the Little Baby or all that?" And then I get an alert, and I see, oh, there's a recent passing. And I'm looking, I'm reading, I'm like, wait, this can't be. I'm like, dot 45. I'm like, what? I'm like, how did this happen? I'm like, why would he die? Like, what was wrong with him? And then I'm reading the article. I'm like, oh, wow, colon cancer. And I think the crazy thing about it is, to add on to the idea of what he portrayed, and going back to Black Panther, it was biggest role, at least in my eyes, was this guy did all this and managed to live a regular life and keep the secret for whatever reason, but it was just amazing to me that he managed to keep this a secret for so long. And it was also very sad at the same time, because during his last moments, he lost a lot of weight. And, the internet is never defeated. They were playing a lot of jokes on him, thinking like he was saying he was on drugs, he was on crack or whatever, which was wrong. But in all actuality, he had colon cancer. And it was just, it just was just shocking to see him die so early, so young, just at the top of his career, just to see him go. I felt like I lost a friend, a family member. Like it really bothered me.
Okay. And you said what was your favorite role? Was it Black Panther or something else that he did?
Well, to be honest, it was Black Panther. Like I seen him in other movies, but what really did it for me, and like Black Panther, I seen Black Panther 4 times, like literally 4 times. Like I went back to the theater, paid, went back again. Like that was my movie. Like he was cool in the other roles he did with Jesse Jackson and all that. I mean, not Jesse Jackson, Jackie Robinson, but for me, it was Black Panther. Like that was the movie for me.
Okay. All right. And I know we touched on this on another show, Josh, but just to give our Food for the Culture audience about how did his death affect you?
Well, first, I just wanted to, out of all respect, pay a tribute to Chadwick with this video from E, the hip hop preacher, real quick. It's a short clip.
Sometimes you need to feel the pain and sting of defeat to activate the real passion and purpose that God predestined inside of you.
It's time to declare war, saints. It's time. You got celebrities dying, people with money, people who have the best health care in the world. You got people who are poor, people who are left out of American society dying. You got older people, younger people, kids dying. The devil is on a rampage. It's time for God's people to be on a rampage.
Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. The more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it.
We don't know how long we're going to be on this earth. Many have passed away this year. We don't know how long we're going to be on this earth. Please do me a favor. Let the Spirit of the Lord move through you and leave your mark on this earth. From Congo forever.
So yeah, just wanted to reiterate that message. And it's best to do things that you're passionate about, because again, we all know that tomorrow is never promised. So it's always better to do what you're passionate about and do what your mission in life is, so you can fulfill your purpose on earth. And I thought one great gesture that I saw today was that his hometown actually wanted to erect a statue of him, or at least replace the Confederate one, obviously, where he's from.
Yeah, South Carolina, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And yeah, one other thing I wanted to say, sorry to intrude again, but one thing that I really liked about Chadwick was how positive he was and all the things that he did to help as many people as he encountered. Even when you see the running back clips of like the little skits he did, especially with Black Panther, and like surprising audience members, or not audience, but people who saw the movie and surprising them and giving them little words of encouragement. Or even, I feel like another thing that he encompasses is the idea of help, and how powerful it is to help somebody who is in a low moment. And I feel like, especially with what his mentor, Denzel Washington, did for him, with him being short a couple grand for that particular semester in college.
Yeah.
And then Denzel sending the money out to help him, which really catapulted his career and getting him to that particular moment where we all know him today. And I think even when he was able to pay him back and give that speech to thank him, those words of encouragement and those words of like, you were there for me when I needed you the most, and I didn't even expect any help from you, but you helped me. And for you doing that, I want to continue to push forward and help as many people, or do what I can to assist and help people less fortunate. And I think that's a very powerful thing that he did and that he showed to many, many people. And I do hope that many people attach themselves to that mindset and that idea and really take the opportunity to help somebody in need, regardless if it's small or big or whatever the case may be. Use this moment of time to help the people while they're here, as opposed to walking past them.
Yeah, totally agree, Banks. And that's a good thought. And thanks for that tribute video as well, Josh. We've seen so many since he's passed, which tells you his impact on everyone, even black or white, or any race, color, or creed. And just for me, I've been following Chadwick for many years. So, I was a fan of 42, when it came out, back then. And I was a person who, if I saw the role would have Chadwick Boseman, I was all in for it. So I've always been a fan, even before, Black Panther. When they announced him to play Black Panther in Civil War, which was the first role as Black Panther, I was very, very, excited. And I thought he held his own with Titans like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson. I just thought that ensemble really showed that he can hold his own. And then to move forward with his own movie, which, as we know, moved so many people, at that time. And his passing really does make you think, like Josh said, kind of like a carpe diem, right? Seize the day. If you're passionate, do those passions. Don't wait. You never know. And also makes you think about, your health overall as an individual, and also the strength that he had to, keep making these movies while he was sick, keep visiting sick children who also had cancer. He did that speech you played while he had the colon cancer. So a lot of that shows that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And he never did, give up. So I think his place in history will be forever sketched in our hearts and our minds, and he will never be able to be replaced. That's my thoughts on it.
Absolutely. And
Definitely.
it was very encouraging that his inner circle did not leak the information, because as we know, in the entertainment space, in that industry, people get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for that type of information. So I appreciate that, his team was able to keep that a secret. And I just hope we as a culture learn from this moment, because as this meme says, right, when people saw this photo of him, the internet did what the internet did, right? They essentially became trolls, especially on Black Twitter, right?
Right.
So guys, you got to learn from the situation. You got to learn from Kobe. You got to learn from Nip. You got to appreciate the people while they're here. People get too caught up in, being online, and people want their voices heard. And for whatever reason, the only way that they feel like their voice can be heard is if they're negative, if they're trolls, if they, cause, polarization and being, essentially being massive trolls. So appreciate the people while they're here, because you're going to look stupid and corny as hell when something like this happens and you don't even know what happened.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to a previous topic on a New You radio show where we talked about stuff like the Shade Room, and how the stuff they post is to get negative reactions for people to troll. And like, they barely post a positive Black message. They literally pick and choose what'll get the most comments because of the most trolls and stuff like that. So that's, something you got to think about moving forward. Stuff like that. We're going to move forward. And again, rest in peace, Chadwick, forever going to be with us. And we talked more about Black Panther 2 on Mental Theater. You can check that out as well. Moving forward, though, last week, while we were on the show, the NBA, that day, the NBA games were canceled because the Milwaukee Bucks started a boycott, which led to other teams, other leagues, because of the shooting of Mr. Jacob Blake. Since then, the NBA boycotted about 2 days, and they went back to play after that. After, some Kenny Smith, walked off the set, a lot of things happened. So I guess my question is less about the boycott, or what do you think it accomplished anything by the NBA players doing that?
No.
Okay, that's a simple answer. Simple question.
I mean, within 48 hours, we already heard that they were going to resume the games. So what was it not for?
Yeah, well, I'll let John speak. What do you think about that, John?
I thought it was stupid. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it made us look like a joke. And I feel like, and I'm going to emphasize Black people. Because, at the end of the day, we always get the short end of the stick. We always get looked down upon. We always get played on or whatever, just because of the lack of organization and the lack of people wanting to work together. It's everyone for themselves. And I think, or at least I know, with that move that they made, it just added more fuel to that particular fire. And even with the comments that President Trump made on his Twitter saying, like, ratings for the NBA soared due to them being against the America and the American flag and all that, and I can't wait for real sports to get back on, like football and baseball. And I feel like that comment adds on to what the NBA or what these teams did by saying, "Oh, we're going to boycott. We're not going to deal with this nonsense anymore. We're going to actually take a stand." And then a day or two later, "Oh, we're going to go play again." I'm like, what is that? It's like it's silly. It's silliness. And then with the comments that I don't know exactly what LeBron was saying. I didn't really look and read the whole article, but apparently even when they had the meeting, even LeBron said some comments that the young players didn't like as well. So it just seems like there's just a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff going on. And I feel like the approach that they're taking is not the greatest. It's not really doing much for the culture in that sense. And it's not really helping the agendas that we would like to, just all we want is a fair chance, a fair shot. That's it. But it's just like with these little, antics, it's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, it's crazy. Like, you can't make a huge stand, but then don't follow through. You can't boycott and then come back to. Think about the bus boycott, right? 60 years ago. Imagine 2 days later, all right, we'll get back on the back of the bus. You can't do a boycott and then come back and play a couple days later. I think the bus boycott was 100-something days. And it made a difference because they were losing money, the city buses, and they had to make a difference. So I'm just like, what was the point of that? I agree with that whole thing. And then to your point, John, a lot of times we're not united in our efforts, which leads us to fail, right? And even with this, the Milwaukee Bucks didn't tell anybody. And they did it. But then the other players got upset they didn't tell anybody. And then they had meetings about it where someone to leave, someone to stay. You have to be united in order to put on a stand, to show a good front. So I just feel like that was a couple of days off, a couple of days more rest. At the end of the day, it didn't accomplish anything. And, now they're back to playing. And we're back to talking about only basketball. If you watch all these shows, it's 2-3 days later. It's back to only sports. So,
it made us look stupid. Right. Even with the news reporter that made that comment about LeBron saying, you should just shut up and play basketball. That's what he alluded to by that whole statement. Oh, we're not going to play. Oh, now we're going to play now. That statement that she put out into the public is basically what they're doing. They're shutting up and playing basketball. You're just a basketball player. That's what we pay you to do. That's all we want from you. We don't want you to do anything else but play basketball. And I felt like the whole premise of we're going to fight, we're standing for injustice, and then just to go back and play basketball 2 days later, come on, man. It's sad. We just, once again, we're looked upon as if we are a joke, and we're disorganized, and all we're doing is just doing flashy things to get hashtags, to get pictures, photos for the gram or whatever it is, but we're not getting to any resolutions.
Yeah, I agree.
And just a heads up, Miguel, the bus boycott was over a year, so it's around 380 days.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Right, but that's my point. People had to walk to work during that time period. They had to catch rides or whatever, but they still boycotted. They didn't say, "Look, man, I gotta go to work tomorrow." You know what I mean? So how are you going to even do it in the first place if you're not going to go forward with it? What is that? That's a waste of time to me. So,
and I feel like the biggest thing that's been proven in history when it comes to making your point across is money. Once
Yes.
you start taking away the revenue and the money stream that comes from whatever efforts or job or progression that you put into the economy, once you put a halt to that, there's always some sort of drastic change to help fix that. It's been proven with the bus boycott, and I know that I always forget there was one other boycott that Latin Americans, I believe it was Latin or Filipino Americans, did in the early 70s and 80s. I don't know if it was like a olive factory or whatever, but I saw it the other day. I was watching a documentary on it, and they went on strike, and basically they basically took what they were putting out in regards to production for several months until it came to a point to where they end up establishing a union for them, and they were able to get most of their demands met for the people that are working in these conditions in these factories. But it's just another example of money. It's all this talk, pictures, all that doesn't do anything. All that stuff is just, they just want you to do that to help further distract whatever agenda that they have. But the minute you start talking money, that's what gets things settled, especially in the United States of America. It's money. That's all it is.
Yeah. Listen, there's nothing worse than an idle threat, right? So if you're just going just make like, I guess they're trying to say, well, you see, we will leave, but you really wouldn't leave, right? You really wouldn't stop playing. So they don't believe you. Next time you try this, they're going to be like, you'll be back a couple of days. Because we don't really believe that you. What is Jay-Z? We don't believe you. You need more people. That's what they're going to say to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to your point, John, there was a football strike in the 80s, and they had replacement players. And guess what? 6 games into it, they brought back the real players because the players are the show. So, Josh, you would know LeBron James, James Harden. Are they going to say, you know what, we'll get other people? No. They're going to make sure they get back out there and stuff like that. So, I just feel like that they should have used their – go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
No. Keep going, you go.
They should have used the power and influence that they have and just said, we're going to keep going with this until we see real change. Because nobody's going to watch some guy who plays at the CYO playing for the NBA right now. And when you used to seeing LeBron James. So like I said, even if they try to bring some other guys in, it won't last long. Trust me. So they should have used the power that they have.
I mean, honestly, I think we're expecting too much, actually, because the fact that they came back lets you know what time it was anyway. That's just my perspective.
I mean, I agree. I'm just more on the fact that why even leave in the first place, then, So, but I agree with you 100%. So, I mean, was leaving, like John said, just for a social media post to say we not leave, but we stop playing for a day to make it seem like we're doing something? Like, was that what it was?
Apparently.
Yeah,
exactly. Even with Jazz, especially with I remember me and Jazz were talking about it, and even with what Kenny did. I'm like, what is you walking off set? And he did most of the show, right?
I think it was like the first 10 minutes he left, actually.
Yeah, like it was something like that where he either walked out the last 15 minutes or something. But yeah, I know there was some sort of production. But yeah. I'm like, I'm going to take a stand with the players. I'm like, what? What is you walking out of work doing and then going back to work? it doesn't I don't know. I just felt like we're a laughing stock. That whole thing.
Too. No, that's it. Walking out of work one day, but back on the set the next day. What the hell does that do? Whatever. Like, that's crazy.
It's a joke. And it's just going to add on to, President Trump, whatever he has to say, and add on to his long list of insults and material to use against us and show like how disorganized we are, how we can't settle on one thing. We do one thing, then it's another thing. Like, it's just, we have to really do better at the end of the day. We just have to do better.
Not to mention Kenny left, but Shaq and Chuck stayed. So how's that look? You know what I'm saying? So
right.
It looks like he's just by himself on an island and the other two don't really care. So again, that disorganization bothers me. But we can move forward off that, and let's talk about something good. And it's about these families, several families, 19, I believe, in Georgia, who bought 90 acres of land to create a safe city for Black people, hoping to plant the seeds for a potential new Black Wall Street. What are your thoughts on this, Josh?
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool, and we'll see if that sets a trend with, things, and hopefully the people who inhabit this safe city actually do keep it safe and don't bring that nonsense into the city. Because then, what's the point?
This is true. John, what do you think about this? John? Well, I'll give my thoughts on it. I have a question, actually, with my thoughts, but I think it is pretty cool that they came together to buy that those acres overall to create that city part. The part about the potential new Black Wall Street, when Black Wall Street was formed, there weren't many wealthy Black people. So, they formed this to give us, more wealth on our own kind of financial reservation and stuff like that. But now there's hundreds of Black millionaires. So if we keep talking about Black Wall Street, but why don't a lot of these Black millionaires and athletes and actors, why don't I ever see them say, let's come together ourselves and create this Black Wall Street? Like, why do you think that is, Josh?
Probably alluding to the point that you talked about with just not being organized, right? So it was wonderful these 19 families are organized, right? But at the end of the day, they're going to have to be selective, unfortunately, who they invite to live in the city to make sure it has it lives up to their vision. Because one of the things, the main differences with Tulsa, not only were you unified, right? But you were unified because of the struggle. But right. You're also unified that we didn't participate in that nonsense that we do now back then. So that's why it could easily work. So if you have everyone with the same mentality, the same vision, who move to this town or contribute to this town or erect their own towns, that's really the only way it's ever going to work.
So do you think that's why people who already are wealthy don't try to create our own little city together?
Right, because they know the mindsets of the people.
Gotcha. Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
And even if you try to teach them, they're going to be like, oh, you think you better than us type of thing.
Right.
So one of those things. And obviously that comes from insecurity, and we understand why, right? But if they did reach out to help you, you would say something. They reach out to help you, you say something. So at that point, you put them in a no-win scenario. So what's the point of even engaging?
Yeah, because I always think about so many things we say white people own, right? These networks, a lot of times, these shopping places, or these sports teams. But I always think we as a Black society now have enough money, not as individuals, but if we came together, we could buy a network. It's 6 of us, let's say, Diddy, Dre, Rick, whoever. But I never see them try to come together for these things or whatever like that. I always wonder why, it doesn't happen.
Well, they're also getting checks from the established networks. That's where they're getting their income from. So even though our boy Jay-Z is still doing his thing as an entrepreneur, he still signed the 360 deal with Live Nation, or
that's true. Whatever deal was, yeah.
But right, 275 million over 10 years, like that, right? So it's they have their hands in both cookie jars at the end of the. But I agree with you though, but this is why I also give credit to Jay-Z with Tidal, because Tidal is the the illustration of that concept.
Right. Go ahead, John.
And I think I'm not going to go into too much, but I think with what Josh said adds on to the argument, which we're going to eventually talk about with Joe Budden and Charlemagne, because Joe Budden makes a very strong point when it comes to creatives and people who just, work and who work a 9-to-5 or whatever, or who work under a company and don't really have the free ability to do what they actually want to do because they have to abide by someone else's agenda. But to get back to the point, I do think it's great that these 19 families got together and bought that piece of land. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly they're going to do with it because I know they're not building houses there from what I read. I know because I know people were inquiring about purchasing like residential properties and they were saying they're not doing that. So I'm assuming they're either going to do some sort of commercial or just hold the land itself, in a sense of just like buying back America, like especially what, our go-to Kanye West has been advocating for a long time. You need to buy land, especially with Akon. So I'm curious to see what exactly they're doing. And I know that particular page that posted that they do have, I guess you would call it crowdfunding, where you would pay like an equivalent to like a Netflix subscription a month, and they basically accumulate dollars from Black people, and the money will get sourced into projects to help benefit Black Americans and help establish more businesses and build up communities for the Black society in a whole. So I do find it very, very interesting, and I do hope to see more great efforts and additional projects to help the much needed in the United States today.
And what do you think about my question about like why don't established Black millionaires come together to create cities or towns or buy things, stuff like that?
Great question. I just alluding to what Josh said. It's because these Black, entrepreneurs or business people, they are not necessarily self-funded. They are under corporate dollars. So even though they have this money and, they show nice cars, homes, or equity in certain stocks or whatever, it's not necessarily their say on what they can do with their money. They're still owned by a network or a company or whatever entity or board of directors. They still have to, go through somebody. Like what Dame Dash was saying, like, it's like having, to say it in layman's terms, it's like having a daddy. Like it's like they can't do certain things because they have somebody that's in control of their money. Whereas Dame is saying like, I'm self-funded. I could do whatever I want. If I want to do this, I could do it. I don't have to answer to nobody because I pay for everything out of pocket. When the minute I get money, I reinvest it or I put it back to the streets. Whereas a Jay-Z or a Sean Combs or Dr. Dre or whatever you want to say, these people are tied to different entities and companies where they can't just do or make decisions like that.
By the way, thank you, Brother John. That also extends to professional athletes as well. Because just on that, just in the entertainment business alone, how many millions would be circulating in the Black communities if these people actually did those things? It would be quite easy to get everyone out of poverty in America.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'll be thinking. I'm like, so I could always hear about we're trying to start a new Black Wall Street, but I'm like, we have enough millionaires now to really do it, right? So I'm like, well, why are we doing it? So that's just what's my kind of thoughts on the whole thing.
I mean, just $100 million contract, let alone 10. I mean, come on.
Bro, I mean, like, look how many bad contracts you see in the NBA from Black players with so much money. Tobias Harris has a $180 million contract. Like, it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So, look how you shake your head. That's what I mean. Like, you never think. Like, he's going to make $200 million in his career and never be an all-star. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy to see the amount of wealth these people, players, athletes, musicians are accumulating, but are they really putting it back to his communities at all? You know what I mean? So it's just,
I think another thing to add on to that, Mike, sorry to interrupt, but
are you good?
It's especially with these athletes, you see people with these big, enormous deals, right? But if you remember Kevin Garnett, like how much did he make? 180 million, 300 million? What?
One contract was about 180 million. But go ahead, I'm listening.
Right. But if you look at him, if you use him as an example, he amassed all this money, and then towards the end of his career, he barely had anything because of poor dealings with business partners and the people that are supposed to help him with the money that he's recouping from the NBA and endorsements. But in all actuality, these people were robbing him blind to where he had barely anything. So it's like you get these contracts, but then they kind of set you. I don't know how it is now. I don't know if it changed or whatever, or they got better representation. But for what he was saying, he had all these business people that he thought that were working within his best interests. But in actuality, they were doing the opposite, and they were working on their own agendas and robbing him, taking his money, taking almost any and everything that was coming in, and it was going out. And he didn't realize this until it was too late. So another thing that I feel like we need to do as a culture, and not really worry about these movements and hashtags, I think the biggest thing we need to do is find some sort of order and find someone who can lead and also educate. Because the biggest thing we need to do to get over this hump, because at the end of the day, we have a large setback when it comes to, other people in the United States, and especially with how we got out and the lack of education, the lack of business acumen, and so on. We don't have that particular knowledge set. So when we get into those positions, or if you want to just use athletes, you have all this money, but you don't have the knowledge to keep the money, or at least know where your money is going. You just see on paper that, I have these millions of dollars, but then when your career is over, it's like, where did it all go?
Yeah, to your point, there's a whole 30 for 30 called Broke on the NFL, actually by the NFL, but the NFL and how many players are actually broke after their career. So I definitely agree with that. But right. I understand my point as well. Moving forward, though, let's talk about somebody we don't like, and that's El Presidente, Mr. Trump, and that he actually defended the accused government.
Did such a good job for me. And
despite warnings from Democratic leaders, including Wisconsin's governor and the mayor of Kenosha, that President Donald Trump did not go to the Midwestern city at a moment of heightened racial tensions, Trump, undeterred, said he's flying to Kenosha on Tuesday to meet with the officers in last week's response.
Exacerbate tensions and increase violence. Do you give any consideration?
Well, it could also increase enthusiasm, and it could increase love and respect for our country. That's why I'm going, because they did a fantastic job. As soon as I called and told them, let's go, the whole problem stopped.
Trump plans to meet with business owners and survey the damage resulting from protests in the aftermath of the police shooting of 29-year-old Jacob Blake in front of his 3 children on August 22nd. Kenosha's Democratic Mayor John Antaramian, hours before Trump's news conference on Monday, encouraged the president to take the trip at a different time when emotions are less raw.
It would be better for us to be able to pull together, let the community get together, and actually heal up the process of what's going on. So it would have been nice if it had waited a while, a little longer down the road, but it is what it is.
Protests engulfed Kenosha after Blake's family said he was left paralyzed. The Kenosha clashes turned deadly last week. Police arrested a white 17-year-old from Illinois and charged him with first-degree homicide for allegedly killing 2 people with a military-style semi-automatic rifle during a nighttime protest.
Well, I spoke with the pastor, wonderful man, the family's pastor.
Trump on Monday said he doesn't plan on meeting with Blake's family, but sent his regards through their family pastor.
In defiance of appeals to stay away,
I'm here today.
President Donald Trump visited Kenosha, Wisconsin on Tuesday to highlight his law and order re-election campaign message, touring a burned-out furniture store and a camera shop destroyed during civil unrest after a white police officer shot a black man in the back.
These governors don't want to call. The mayors don't want to call.
The state's governor and the city's mayor both urged Trump to avoid Kenosha to prevent inflaming tensions. Trump said the governor and mayor should have acted sooner to prevent the destruction of some buildings.
They just don't want to come in, and then destruction is done.
At a makeshift emergency command center set up at a local high school, Trump expressed his support for law enforcement and praised National Guard troops. But Trump did not visit Jacob Blake, the man who was paralyzed from the waist down after a white police officer fired at his back 7 times on August 23rd. Trump said he had planned to speak with Blake's family, but ultimately did not. Later, at a roundtable with local business leaders, law enforcement officials, pastors, and Republican lawmakers, Trump promised to rebuild Kenosha and provide more federal spending to Wisconsin, a political battleground state Trump won narrowly in 2016 and badly needs to keep in his column as he seeks re-election. Flanked by his attorney general and acting Homeland Security chief, Trump also called recent protests domestic terror in a city where anti-racist demonstrators have clashed with Trump supporters, including a 17-year-old militia member who has been charged with killing 2 people and wounding another with a semi-automatic rifle. Trump's visit to Kenosha comes the day after Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden called for rioters and looters to be prosecuted and slammed Trump, saying he forfeited any moral leadership and stokes violence in American cities that have been gripped by protests over police brutality and racial inequality.
Thank you for providing that, Josh. Banks, when you see that, what do you think about all that? All right, we'll let him go talk.
I mean, I think it's just another example of, Trump inflicting, his agenda of just not taking, what happens, especially to us in the public with police, seriously. I really do think Trump is just playing against his ego, playing towards his celebrity agenda, and adding more fuel to the fire of the election, especially with the large divide in percentages of how Americans feel when it comes to these sad instances. So it just shows that, Trump is tooting his own horn. He follows what he wants to follow. He does what he wants to do. And I think the amount of disrespect in regards of not even wanting to meet the young gent is just sad. You send your words to the pastor of the family. You don't even want to meet the parents. Speak anything. Like it just adds on to the fire of like this guy, is just all about himself and not for all.
Before you go, Josh, John, how do you feel about the protests themselves in Kenosha after the shooting?
I get the anger. I get the feeling of not being heard. I get the sense of wanting justice. But I also get with, how America works and how America looks at instances like this, especially when it comes to protests, rebellion, looting, destruction of statues. All this is, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. It's just a distraction where they allow these things to happen, and then they either wait until people either forget or they use it as an excuse to put more Black people in jail and also justify more reasoning to either hurt or kill these young people, old, whatever the case may be, and do whatever it takes to eliminate this problem. And just getting back to the point of, we really need a better direction. We need some sort of leader, and we definitely need some sort of education to add on to what we can do differently to actually impact and escalate more of a change. Because at the end of the day, I get the idea of going to the protests, but these protests are not doing anything. They're not. At the end of the day, they're not doing anything. I mean, they could say this, but it's not doing anything. What gets things done, what actually invokes change is action in regards to what you're saying. Who is speaking out? What are you doing to impact the economy? What are you doing to impact that these people to come to you? Because at the end of the day, these protests, all it's doing is just either inciting violence towards us, death, or jail time, or fines. So that's what I've seen, and that's what you see in the past, and that's what you see with history. We need something else. Protests, hashtags, pictures, social media, it's not doing anything. These recordings of the police officers and that, it's not doing anything. We need actual change. We need actual reform. We need we need officers from that were born in these neighborhoods. We need training. We need people that have a more of a level-minded. They need people who are a bit more savvier with the gun, who can actually handle these hostile situations. We can no longer have the excuse of, "Oh, I had a long day. You don't know what I seen." I mean, at the end of the day, this is a part of the job. You have to have a level mind. You can't use these excuses of where I saw this, I saw that, to help invoke this pain and destruction to, at many instances, innocent people. We need these things to happen, but this protest thing and video thing is not enough.
Yeah, but I agree about the protest. At this point, it's like, every time someone gets shot, we can't burn down buildings. We can't loot buildings. It's almost becoming an excuse to do these things. And I understand the frustration. I understand the emotional response that takes place in your head. But these responses, to your point, John, is not getting anything accomplished. So, the George Floyd thing, okay. But now every time someone gets shot, we're going to burn down the buildings in that town and loot the buildings and destroy things and all this other stuff. I mean, what is that really, accomplishing? So I don't really agree with that. I think we need, like you said, another strategy. When someone gets shot unlawfully, and what have you, here is the strategy and the plan in place of what are going to be the next steps. Not just go out and protest and burn up cars and flip over police cars and stuff like that. So I don't agree with that. And to the Trump part, I think that he's just tried to make a photo op by showing up out there, but he really doesn't care. It's all about his bottom line, his bottom dollar, and right, trying to win the election. So
of course,
I feel like he really doesn't care, whatsoever. And like the mayor said, and I agree, Trump, you're a polarizing figure, especially in the Black community. Why not wait a couple weeks to come out there? Why come out there now? So I do think he probably did escalate things. However, I don't think we should be out there protesting the way in which the manner in which we are in the first place. But go ahead, Josh. Right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, Trump is invoking his own strategy, right? Which is speaking to the people who voted for him. which makes the most sense. So him,
Right.
not even speaking to the family, that's totally on brand. So I would be surprised if he did, personally. So to me, nothing out of the ordinary there. And as you guys alluded to, he's an opportunist. So he saw an opportunity to gain traction in a place where he struggled previous election. So to me, it just makes all the sense in the world, marketing and branding and campaigning wise. In terms of the strategy of the protest, I mean, I agree. It doesn't make any sense to burn down or loot things that are insured, because this money is going to go back to the business owners. However, from a conceptual perspective, I understand why people are looting, in terms of, because traditionally this is a response to tyranny. So it has it's way beyond, black people or what's going on now. This is historically how other people have gotten equality in the past, right? Because if the system is actually broken, then there needs to be civil unrest, some may think, right? Now, some people obviously will be anarchists, like our boy, Mr. J, right? And just want to fuck shit up just to do that. And we understand those people who, as you alluded to, Miguel, who are just using this as an excuse to loot and burn down and be anarchists and all that other stuff. However, at the same time, if there isn't any civil unrest, if there's no public showing of not being tacitly accepting and implicit of what's going on, you got to have something, right? So I do think it has to go back to what we all saying, has to go back to the money aspect. And I think that would be a more organized front. So again, instead of spending those dollars for, making, billionaires even more richer, millionaires even more richer, if you pull that money together and create a black version of whatever the things that you're consuming, it would go a long way.
Yep, going right back to the previous topic. Exactly. I agree with that 100%. Just something more organized than just that. That can't always be somebody gets shot, tomorrow we're going out and loot the streets. I just don't really feel about that. And as far as Mr. Rittenhouse here is concerned, which was the topic was about, this is just I don't know what to say about this, man. It's obviously blatant murder. It's on videotape, and he's in a juvenile center at 17. Though he hasn't had a trial yet, so I do want to make sure I put that out there. But what are your thoughts about this, Josh?
Well, I think the meme says it all. Kyle Rittenhouse is in juvenile detention for murder at 17, while Khalif Browder, RIP, went to Rikers Island, out of all places, right, at 16 for 3.5 years for stealing a backpack, and he was innocent. So it just shows the disparity of justice in America. But again, we're speaking on deaf ears here. We already know this. So it's really up to the people in charge, the political figures, the officials, right? Those who actually have the authority to do something, actually do something. This is why I'm not going to vote for Kanye, obviously, right? But what he's doing and what he's representing does need to happen. Like, we need to divorce ourselves from the dual party system that isn't serving black people and never actually has.
I mean, I think that and the individual state system and act more like a country, because the part of this we're missing is that each state's judicial system is different. Kyle might be in the right place for Wisconsin, right? You might go to juvenile at 17 no matter what until you go to trial, where Khalif was in New York City, and we know how hard they are with their rules. So I think it more speaks to the fact that we need to act as one instead of having individual state kind of laws and stuff like that, in my opinion. Banks, what do you think about this when you see it?
I mean, it's just an added point to how, even though we have the ability to go out and work, make money, some people become rich, some people, live a decent life. But at the end of the day, we still are falling short towards not really being human. not being not having a fair shot, not really getting a fair opportunity just for justice. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what this kid was fighting for or what he was protecting, he still killed 2 people.
Yeah.
Just shot at them. Like, all they were trying to do was just get the gun out of his hand, and he shoots them. And he's just walking around like it's all good and dandy, like everything is cool. Then you see the cops come, you see him, they're just driving past him. They take him to McDonald's. Like this whole scenario, it's not funny, but it's like it's a joke. It's like they're treating him as if he is the American dream. He has a gun in his hand. He's walking around protecting the American justice system. And he goes, and after that, they escort him to one of America's biggest companies when it comes to fast food, McDonald's. And get that terms. It's like literally a play of what America is. It's a joke.
Right.
Like, he does all this, you give him a Happy Meal, and then you put him in a juvenile detention center. Imagine if this kid was black. He either would have been dead or severely beaten. And forget about a juvenile detention center. This guy's going straight to jail. This guy's going to prison. And no ifs, buts, and ands. It's going to be over.
And he certainly wouldn't be called a vigilante in the press either.
I was like, who is he? Oh, is he Batman? They call him a vigilante? Like, it's ridiculous.
And then them saying that he allegedly killed somebody. You already know if he was black. They're like, oh, this murderer. It's like, come on, man.
Shot were white. That's something like, what?
I mean, and like, if he goes to whatever prison, the white people there, he's gonna be a hero to a lot of them. I guarantee you. Like,
of course.
Which is
like what's
crazy.
going on with that other kid, Dylan Roof?
Oh yeah.
Just another example.
Right. All right. Well, we're done with the current events. We're gonna move on to pop culture right now. And for pop culture, first thing we have is our boy Fifth, my twin Fifth, says he cannot be canceled. He don't believe he can be canceled. You got to go to jail to get canceled, or you got to shoot a girl taking a shot at Tory Lanez, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. But he says his job is to entertain over here also with it. And that's exactly what he does.
Right.
So do you think he can be canceled, or does he entertain enough to where he really can't be canceled?
He can't be canceled. And I'm going to explain why he can't be canceled. 50 Cent is obviously a big troll. And he, makes fun of situations. You never know what he's going to do, especially with the comments that he makes. Sometimes I feel like he just puts things out there without realizing what he said, where there's plenty of instances where he recanted on a lot of items that he posted, like, I apologize, or I didn't mean to say that, or whatever, or I did mean that. He did that, like, that's his hashtag. And with what 50 Cent does, I think what works for him is he doesn't care. He has this personality, like, I'm going to do this regardless of what you say. I'm being me. This is who I am. So he has that authenticity. And he also has just bravery of, like, I'm going to do this, and regardless of what you say or do, this is me, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I think a lot of people like that with 50 Cent, because a lot of people in his ranking don't do that. They either shy away, they don't speak up, or they may like put little things here and there. But with him, he goes full throttle. He does what he wants. He says what he wants, and he's entertaining. he's definitely entertaining, and his Instagram, speaks it. He has what, 23 million followers?
Yeah.
23, 26 million followers. People gets thousands of comments a day, millions of views on his videos or content that he puts out. And if it isn't a couple million, it's definitely within 100,000. And you see this consistently. Like 50 Cent has been consistent with his behavior and how he acts. So in regards to him being canceled, it's very unlikely for him. And especially with his moves, he's also very, very smart. And he also has a very, the best in the business working for him, regardless if it's just PR or if it's lawyers or the contracts. Like, with these scandals a lot of these celebrities are getting, especially with these sex scandals and all that, 50 Cent set the tone. Like, if you coming near me, you signing this contract. NDA, you can't say this, you can't do that. If you do, there's going to be some sort of repercussions. Like, this guy is just, he has something to combat what's going to come forward. Like, he thinks the next step ahead. And I think of all the people of influence that he met, especially with Robert Greene and the collaborations he's had in the past, especially with Life and Life's dealings and everything like that, this guy is unstoppable. And with him not being canceled, I just don't see it, especially with the consistency. Like, he's been in the limelight for what, over 15 years now? 15
20.
years?
Almost 20
almost
now.
20. Yeah. 2000. Yeah, basically. So it's like, come on, man. You don't see that. Not like what he's done. So I believe it. I definitely believe it.
Well, I think he makes a point about the entertaining part. And I think if you can entertain people, no matter the trolling that you do that he does, he can't be canceled. The same people who were like, cancel this guy were the same people watching Power every week, right? And the same people who are watching his show for Life every week. So it's like, you want to cancel him, but he provides you entertainment, so you can't cancel him and stuff. And the same thing with his trolling, the things of that nature. So I think just like anything else, when you have something to give the public and they yearn and they want it, like, you can't be canceled. He's got like a deal for like 5 or 6 new shows already right now. Like, the executives at these TV stations, ABC, Stars, whoever, they love him. You know what I mean? And I'm sure somebody in those offices know about his trolling, but they don't care because he produces hit shows that people watch. And with that, again, he's right. He cannot be canceled, in that way. Josh, what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. 50 created his own lane, and it started with how he, gained traction as an artist, going to Hot 97 in this freestyle and on other people's beats and essentially trolling them on the beat. So he's been completely congruent, completely on brand. As Banks was alluding to, he has that hustler's mentality, and Miguel, you alluded to it as well. He has something that the people want, and it's a fix that they need. It's something that they crave. We're looking at the story on the Shade Room, which is encompassing everything that he's doing. So he understands the marketplace, and as I'm sure those who have read his book, which is a great book,
amazing book, fantastic read.
He understands the whole aspect of supply and demand. And it's that simple. Another person who understands this concept is Jay-Z, right? He has the line, "I got 5 passports, I'm never going to jail." Like, he understands how things work in place. And to be fair, 50 as well is also one of those people who's sure making his own money, but at the same time, one of those millionaires, multi-millionaires, who's in the pot, who's getting money from those who are established entities, which is another reason he's not getting canceled, because he's there to entertain. And if we can, this be completely transparent, the term entertainment in this context is totally interchangeable with distract. 50 is exemplary at distracting our culture, which is why he gets paid the way that he does, which is why he will not get canceled unless it benefits those who are paying him to cancel him monetarily.
Yeah, I agree. That whole distract line is you're right. It's very synonymous with entertainment, and for everybody, not just 50 Cent. So I kind of agree with that 100%, in that way. But I think he's speaking for a lot of entertainers, quote unquote, right? That, as long as they have the supply and demand, like you said, it doesn't matter. Nobody can cancel them, regardless. As long as you have a product that people want, they'll keep coming. It's just what it is. So we got Power Book 2 that starts next week, this Sunday. People are ready for that, right now. So,
And I got to give credit to 50 because 50 totally adapts. He has always adapted to his surroundings, which is another reason he won't get canceled. Even recently, right in the last month, he started coming at Meg after what happened. Then he apologized. So he's able to, pick and choose his moments. So he's fully aware. He's incredibly calculated about what he does, which is why he's an unbelievable businessman. Very savvy.
And plus, man, we want what we want, right? We cannot like you all we want to, but if you're giving me a good show to watch on Sunday nights, people don't care. Let them watch the show.
Right.
I don't care if he produces it. I don't care if he gets money from it. They don't watch the show because they're entertained. It's very, very hard. People still buy R. Kelly's albums, right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's in jail for pedophilia because it's very hard for people to, I guess, have
separate the two things,
compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize the two things, so they still do what they do. So he's right; he can't be canceled.
Right.
So, but moving forward, man, let's talk about this versus battle, and also let's give a shout out to Swiss and Tim because it's getting more and more, bigger and bigger every show. This one, I believe, got up to 1.2 million people in the IG live, at one time, and their numbers since that are going through the roof. They're like the top, downloads on iTunes right now and Spotify, their songs and their albums. So overall, I want to give a shout out for this kind of business venture between Timbaland and Swiss and this incredible platform, that they created. And of course, this battle, we want to shout out to Brandy and Monica themselves. I don't know if you heard about it or got a chance to jump in there, Banks. What do you think about this versus battle?
I watched some of it. What I will say, personally, I like Brandy. I feel like Brandy is a stronger artist in regards to her catalog of music, especially with that Full Moon album. I think essentially she has more hits that are more identifiable with the masses to an extent. And I feel like with Monica, she kind of has like that hood chick mentality where she kind of speaks to a certain crowd and that's it. And I think with the whole battle of them going together, I felt like, one, it was good because I know they had their issues in the past. So I thought that was very interesting and unique because I think that when they mentioned this, I don't know if it was them, but I thought they said this was never going to happen because of their previous issues. And I think the only reason why they're doing this is because Monica has a single coming out, and I think Brandy is trying to
got an album coming out, B7. I just came
right. Out. And I think it's just all this is just really for promotion. But what I did find unique, I don't know, but then again, I don't know these two young ladies. But when in the beginning, I felt like Brandy was throwing shade low key when she had them white sandals on. When she had the white sandals on, the meme with Monica and the little white low top heels.
Yeah.
I felt like that was like a low key jab. I don't know, maybe not. I overthought it, but I thought that was funny that she did that. But then the conversation they had, like, when Monica was like, sis, maybe I did, but I didn't kick down your door. Or the conversation that they were having about, like, we had our issues, but we're moving past it. Or like, I really like this song here. And then Monica tried to sing the song, but she didn't know the words to the song. Like, there was a lot of unique moments throughout the 3 hour, versus battle that I just found unique. And then again, maybe they were genuine. I don't know. But just judging from their past and the tension that they had, it just seemed forced to an extent. But then again, when you look at the comments, you see a lot of women saying like, oh, this is beautiful. Black women come together, blah, 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 and all that. So they're just completely ignoring the obvious things that they're doing, especially with their body language. But, at the end of the day, it was good. It was good to watch. But I just felt like it was a forced situation.
Before I move on, what do you feel about Versus overall right now and the platform that Tim and Swiss have created and how big it's getting? With this one having 1.2 million people watching and stuff.
What was that, Mike?
What do you feel about the Versus overall and the platform that Tim and Swiss have created and how big it's getting with this having over 1.2 million people watching, the biggest one they had yet, so far?
I think if they get artists, especially in like these scenarios, if they get artists with similar catalogs or at least a similar instance for the culture, I think they could do a lot of great things, but they have to keep the energy coming. They can't just throw like a great combo here and then throw a dub the next time, because that's how you lose audiences. You got to keep the attention going. You got to keep the imagination going. And I even saw a small debate online, which was pretty interesting. Now, these two groups I'm about to mention, they're not really for the culture, but in essence of what the Versus battle is, of like top tiering artists for the particular culture of that time frame, they were saying of doing an NSYNC and Backstreet Boy Versus, which in essence, even though they were a white teenage boy band, they still had a lot of elements from R&B artists. And they still had a lot of music that, regardless if you want to agree or disagree, that a lot of people do know their hits. They were the top artists, and a lot of people do know some of their songs. And especially with what JT has done, leaving them in a sense. But I think that would also be a unique approach if they did that.
And I know you didn't watch the battle, Josh. I want to ask you about that. But what do you feel about what Banks is saying about them possibly crossing over this platform to make it even bigger, having like other type of artists in there instead of just black artists only?
Well, Banks is spot on, right? Because why else partner with Apple?
Right.
If it wasn't to get the Apple dollar. So it goes back to our original point, right? Of just getting the money from the established brands. And at the end of the day, you can go NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Then you can even segue that to JT versus Justin Bieber.
Right.
Ooh.
Since, Chris Brown didn't want to battle Usher, I bet JT and Justin Bieber get on there, and they could probably at least get 5 million views on that alone.
That'd be crazy. JT and JB.
Brandy and Monica got 1.2. Imagine JT just like he's right.
They would shut it down. They would shut it down. I hate to say it, but they would shut it down.
Yeah. Or even NSYNC and Backstreet from back in the day. Or how about Britney versus Christina, right? Or something
I was just thinking about that. Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. Come on.
Like I know it's
Genie a battle and Baby One More Time.
Like I know it's a black, and I want to say this about a couple things. I know it's a black kind of cultural thing right now, but if it were you, I guess, Josh, would you try to keep it that way, to keep it authentic? Okay.
Me personally, I never saw it as that.
Okay.
If you think about, bigger picture, it was never just going to stay that ever.
Okay. Gotcha.
Especially when you went to Apple, that just solidified that.
Do you think the black culture will be upset if they start to spread their wings
Absolutely.
Of course.
They can even do a cancel culture, but at that point, it won't matter because of the momentum.
I mean, I agree with you. If the black people decide not to watch, they don't need them if they have Justin versus JB. They'll get 5 million white people alone, watching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree with that. But that goes back to your point about Monica, right, versus Brandy. The reason why Monica was never as big as Brandy is because even going back to what you said about the whole Akon and T-Pain, right? Monica wanted to stay more like hood, like you said, make more like
Monica, look at the dudes that Monica dealt with consistently.
I understand.
Look at her baby dad. Come on.
Yeah.
Did you see the post I put about? I didn't send it to y'all, but I looked at her page because I know I don't know Josh if you know her baby dad Rocco. He's an ATL rapper, but she put a Happy Father's Day post. I was looking through her page, and basically she was just alluding to being a great father figure, even though they had their issues. She's happy that he's in the children's lives, but it's funny how he can't see this post because we blocked each other a while back because of our issues. Like, come on, toxic energy everywhere on that page.
I do want to say, I think song for song, I think Monica might have better songs, but Brandy crossed over, man. Like she was acting in so many different things where those studios didn't want Monica. Probably because of her toxicity or things she, allowed. People forget.
She was a hostile child. She fought a lot.
People forget Brandy was in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like that's how much she crossed over. Like she was in movies like for everyone and stuff like that. Like let alone not just Moesha. She crossed over all the way at one point.
Right.
So she had bigger hits, a bigger career overall and whatnot. And that goes back to your point about the T-Pain and Akon or even this versus altogether. Sometimes you have to kind of spread your wings a little bit and then try to do more. So. Oh yeah, Brandy was to Kobe or Kobe took Brandy to the prom, stuff like that.
Right.
Shout out to Mamba, like that and whatnot.
Brandy was lit.
Yeah. And even though Monica was making her hits, she couldn't get past the songs that she was making, which only going to give you so much longevity. They even put Brandy on that show The Game a few years ago because she still had that clout in Hollywood to get on TV shows and stuff like that.
Right.
So sometimes it's best to go there. But like I said, man, 1.2 million is crazy. So I could see what you're saying about maybe trying to, get a different vibe in there and see how much you can how you can actually get this and whatnot. So that's my thoughts on that. Moving forward though, a couple topics about your boy Joe Budden. And
Joey.
We're gonna start with him responding to another fan favorite of ours, Charlemagne, about Joe taking his podcast from Spotify or not signing a new deal and wanting to, I guess, do it on his own, I guess. And Josh got something on that, right?
Charlemagne, you're not going to get it because I own this. My most valuable, my most powerful, my most accomplished asset, I own it. Ownership. You see all these black people running around preaching ownership. There's a reason for it. You, my friend, work for iHeart and have.
Joe Budden is a person who knows his worth but doesn't know how to properly negotiate it. Because if you keep doing deals with various corporations and you keep getting trapped deals, that's on you. Like things like vacation days, bonuses, all of that has to be negotiated in your contract from the beginning.
But shouldn't that be as manager or as an agent or as an attorney?
Eesh.
So, Josh, I'll start with you. Just off of Joe taking his own podcast away from Spotify, who we know Joe Rogan just signed with recently, actually with his podcast. What do you think about that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, Joe is speaking facts about ownership, but at the same time, he as well at one point did, let's say, suck from the ample bosom of syndicated media, as Charlemagne is now, right? And I think the 9-minute video, he alluded to Stephen A. Smith and his contract with ESPN, $10 million a year.
Right.
So again, there's multiple ways to, get coin in this world, and both of them know about that side of things. So to me, it sounds incredibly self-righteous for Joe to be like, oh, I'm doing this now. And good for him. That's great. That's fantastic. But you could have been doing that.
That's true too. Kind of a little contradictory there. Banks, what do you think about all of it?
I think first, what I would say is this. I think with Charlemagne, it just shows Charlemagne's character of just him being spot on what he does. It does kind of suck because I thought Charlemagne and Joe were friends. And if you look at Charlemagne's interview, he's like tear down Joe completely, like as if he didn't even know him. And it's, in a sense, it's kind of disrespectful of basically saying like Joe is just completely incompetent of doing anything, of how he broke it down. And I think Charlemagne brought points, but I feel like with both of them, I don't feel like Charlemagne has the right to really say anything, because if you look at what Joe's saying, especially when it comes to Charlemagne has always worked under the corporate umbrella. He's added so much value to the Breakfast Club. It just doesn't make sense for him to be under certain the terms that he's in, but it just alludes to him being comfortable and being fine of being an employee. And then I think with what Joe was saying when he brought the example of Dame Dash when he came on the show and how there was so much tension between them, was when Dame was saying, like, I own everything. Like, I put out my own money and I get my own results. At the end of the day, I do what I want to do. You can't do what you want to do because you have to answer to someone. I don't. And I think with what Joe wants to do now, he wants to get into a point to where he has full control and he doesn't have to answer or abide to any corporate structure, or even if they place ad placement, he wants to have control of that and also, get money from it, as opposed to Spotify taking everything. And I think with what Joe's doing is good, because he's also giving people who are creatives and who are artists a bit more confidence in the sense of just like, all right, I can do this myself. Let me see if I can follow his blueprint, and maybe other people who do tend to do it themselves, because it's hard. It's easier to be an employee than a boss. A lot of people want to be a boss, but they can't handle the setbacks of owning a business, of running a company and having employees, the overhead, all those things that most people don't talk about in the limelight. They just look at the fruits of the labor. But at the end of the day, there's a lot that goes into it. And some people do not want to go, most people don't want to go through all that. So people like Charlemagne is perfectly fine getting that consistency in salary and benefits and having that comfort, where Joe wants ownership and wants something different. And he's going more on a artistic approach of like, I need to do this. And I think with what was kind of corny with Charlemagne, of him saying all this, because Charlemagne, if you look at Charlemagne's career and all those shows that he pitched to MTV2 and his podcast, Brilliant Idiots, like that was never picked up by Spotify. The shows that he created on MTV2, which were unique ideas and definitely interesting, but they all were removed by his boss. Regardless of how good or well it could have done, they took it off because they wanted their own agenda. And what Joe was saying is like, listen, you're saying this all about me, but you don't have control of anything. Regardless of the value that you're providing, you are not getting it. I'm trying to do something bigger here, and you are taking steps backwards. And here you trying to bring me down when I'm trying to do something different. And that's what Charlamagne was doing. And I kind of feel, even though Joe can be annoying at times, but I felt what he was saying. Like, I'm trying to do my own thing here. I'm trying to do something big. And then you try to clown me when you had all this stuff, if not worse, that you lost because you don't have complete ownership of it. So my thing is, why are you coming at me when you're not even coming at yourself?
Bar.
So that point right there, I was like, okay, Joe, okay. You got a point there. Like I completely feel him on that. So I think it was that was a low ball move that Charlamagne did, because Charlamagne should know where Joe's coming from, because Charlamagne had similar hardships, if not worse, with his own projects.
I mean, yeah. I mean, to your point, yeah. I think he had, what was the show he had? Was it Ridiculousness or something on MTV too? I forgot.
Ridiculousness, and he had something to help creators and influencers on Twitter.
Yeah. And they took it off, right? Same way they took Nick off, right? Viacom, same company, MTV too.
Right.
So it's so to that point, I get, but I do say everyone has to do what's right for them. So therefore, Charlamagne shouldn't really, I guess, come at Joe. Sometimes people like to have that steady paycheck and be the employee, right? And if the paycheck is good, they're like, look, I'm good. Joe wants more. He wants full ownership, which really means he wants full control, right? Creative control, control over how much he works, control over, guests he can have on the show and stuff like that. So I think to each his own. But Josh, you as a content creator, do you have a path which you would choose, or does it really matter to you as long as you get out there, stuff like that?
I feel like I already made the decision.
I mean, you're doing it by yourself now, but let's say someone called you to pick it up. What would you want to keep doing it by yourself, or what would you want to do?
Well, you know me, Miguel. I need give me specific parameters. If Spotify calls and offers how much?
Okay, I got you. Well, what made Joe Rogan deal, obviously, but
right.
I don't know.
So let's say this then. Let's say Spotify offers you, I don't know, let's say $5 million. Let's say $2.5 million. You get another 2.5 if you hit certain benchmarks. And when it comes to ad revenue, they have full control of what they're able to put out for the first 2 years. And then after the 2-year period, depending on if you're hitting those particular benchmarks that they want you to hit, which would probably be impossible because they're going to do that in their favor, would you take a deal like that?
I would only take a deal like that if it's for one of my brands, not all of them.
Okay.
And it would probably be the one that I care about the least. And I'll be like, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like all of them. We need the full package. We need Passport Muse. We need Food for the Culture. We need all that. Poetic Charm. We need all angles.
Mental Theater. Shout them all out.
All that.
Creative Good. Nah. All of them. You can have one.
See, that's the Joe predicament, because they hit Joe with something like that.
What his Stephen A. point was, Stephen A. makes $10 million a year, but they work him like a slave. ESPN, like he's on everything, and Joe feels like he's making all these shows get more rating because he's Stephen A. Smith. Then he should be getting more than $10 million a year. But it sounds good to us, initially.
Right. It's like with Dave Chappelle, with the Chappelle Show. Comedy Central offered him $50 million, right?
Right.
And Dave Chappelle is thinking like, okay, you're giving me $50 million, but you're taking full control of my content. I can't get a percentage of my DVD sales. You're doing all this. You're basically owning me. Yeah, you're giving me $50 million, but what, as Dave Chappelle says, like, what are my fans going to say when you're giving me this deal of $50 million, but then at the back end, Comedy Central is making, let's say, $500 million off of the Chappelle brand. So you're giving me this little percentage of the content I'm giving, And then it's like what Master P said. Jimmy Iovine was going to give me $1 million. If he's willing to give me $1 million, that means I must be worth $100 million. So I think those points most people don't look at. Like if a company is willing to give you a substantial amount of money, but also take a lot out of you just to get that money, that means you're worth 10 times, if not more, than that particular dollar amount that they are setting to market you at. So it would make sense for you to go into business yourself to try to get as much as you can, as opposed to going that employee route.
Yeah. Or either that, or they're going to work you for all the money, like Stephen A. He's on every show on ESPN all day long. You know what I mean?
By the way, he was working that hard before, so I feel like that's restitution for him doing that already, because he was doing that before. It wasn't getting 10 million a year.
That's true. That is true.
Right.
Yeah, he's always been all over the place on that particular station and whatnot. But yeah, so I definitely see both sides of it. Moving forward with more Joe Budden and Joey. So he responded to Tahiri, his ex-girlfriend, who made claims this week of domestic violence in a relationship from probably over 10 years ago. And he responded saying that, well, she hit me. So I think we got a video or a clip about that. But
what was alleged here? Let me start with this young lady is a liar, a cancerous, toxic liar. I'm uncertain why she's lying this way. I'm not certain if she is misspeaking, if she has a false recollection of things. I'm not sure what it is, but she said some things that didn't sit right with my soul. We're talking about 24 and 25-year-old Joe, 25-year-old, 26-year-old you. We were toxic to each other. And I'm glad that the climate has changed and we are able to have some conversations today that we couldn't have back then. Yeah. Because today I'm very comfortable saying you were abusive. You used to beat my ass. You said or made it seem as though your nose was broken as a result of abuse by Joe. You were not clear in how and when and why you got your nose broken, and that Joe had absolutely nothing to do with that. You are a cancerous, toxic, clout check chasing liar. You called me when you got into that physical altercation with that gentleman and he punched you in your face and your nose was broken. Why this story is coming up now and how it's related to me exactly, I'm unclear. But I can tell you what happened since your memory seems to be a bit foggy all of a sudden.
You know, that relationship left me with a fractured rib, a broken nose because somebody was sending him a message, and I used to always say, "Yo, stop beefing out there. I'm out there still working." And he hit me on that nose and then pushed me down a flight of stairs. I remember having to talk him out of letting me go that day. I remember having a plan to leave because the reason why he was so upset was because I was already leaving.
All right. So my question is, and I'll start with you, Banks. Is, well, first of all, what do you think about all this when you hear it? First and foremost, between the two of them.
I mean, this has been like a common ground for Joe Budden. I was just looking at closed comment. But I think this is a common ground for Joe Budden, especially with his past, with the many models he's dated and similar accusations of alleged attacks. But I think with Tahir, I think it's just really interesting with what she said and what he said, basically saying, like, you know, we had a toxic relationship. We were both young. You know, I had my issues here I didn't have much money or whatever. And him basically retorting and saying like, well, you beat the ish out of me. And I just think it's unique on what actually happened, because Joe has a lot of accusations with this, and Joe is very sensitive when it comes to his emotions. He's a very emotional person, especially with his music. So it kind of makes you wonder, what was it that Joe did? Like if he did anything, like I don't know the whole full context, but something happened. But I just think it just adds on to the fact of, a lot of people have whatever demons that's inside of them or whatever. And I think it's just perfect conversation to, instead of suppressing or combating these particular things, you should definitely take the opportunity to seek some sort of help or guidance to help move past it. Because whatever happened, I mean, it was the past. And they're obviously not together. They're moving on to bigger and better things. But in my opinion, I think this is a perfect opportunity to really go out and get the help that you need.
For both of them, you mean? Or you saying?
Well, of the both of them getting the help that they do need, because I do believe both of them have issues, and I do believe both of them have their way of doing things. And if you remember, Joe would record everything and put it on social media before it was a thing to do that, especially with Tahiri. So you've seen a lot of that, of their ups and downs online. But it is very sad to hear stuff like this happening or coming back up in the limelight. But I do think this is just a great opportunity to, speak about domestic violence and also get the help you need to help move past those particular pains and demons that you may or may not have.
Okay. Josh, I want to ask you, what do you feel about his statement of he's happy that we're in a time right now where he can actually say that she was the one who was hitting him and whatnot? And when you hear her say he hit me, he's saying he hit me. Like, what do you think of those comments?
Well, Josh had no idea who Tahiri is. So I had to do a quick Google search while Banks was talking.
Wowzers.
Yeah, right.
It makes sense. She's really not much.
Yeah. Right. She's literally a nobody to me. So I have zero context. So that's number one. Number two, just with the Google searches alone, you see a pattern of behavior. Apparently she was choked out by someone on Marriage Boot Camp.
Yep, recently. Yeah.
So again, sounds like a young lady who's not taking accountability for her own actions and probably is being with people who are also abusive because she's also abusive as well. Usually those things do correlate.
Yeah, I from what I'm getting, they were in an abusive relationship together. Like they were kind of toxic and abusive towards each other and whatnot. And sometimes she got the better of him, and sometimes he got the better of her.
Right. So I'm thinking exactly about Ray Rice, because people just neglect the fact that it was his significant other who was going upside his head as well. And first. Right. So at that point, it's a retaliation. So if you're going to act like a man, you're going to get treated like a man.
Right.
Facts. No. Yeah. Because this guy's choking her.
I'm sorry. And to your other point, Miguel, and my bad, but he, Joe is right though, because now, it's a lot more common for that to be in the forefront, because before, guys aren't getting any sympathy for getting beat on by a woman.
Yeah, I agree. So him probably bringing it out, if it happened, right, 10 years ago, would have been like maybe laughed at or something like that,
Absolutely. And okay, so Chloe's bringing up a great point, because usually this is the conversation that the ladies bring up. So it's okay for him to beat her, but you're totally disregarding the other facts that she beat him. So it's kind of like, all right, if someone, and everyone will get this scenario, right? If someone steals from you and you steal back from them, are you going to say to the police, but wait a minute, they stole from me first? What kind of logic does that make?
Yeah. And she's saying now he should leave in that situation. Chloe, I don't know who, again, I think it was just an entirely toxic relationship. But if it was, then she shouldn't be crying the victim either. Like, you're not going to punch me in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just think it's all
And that's
good.
a big thing. I'm not condoning on hitting on women. That's something that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, you can't hit a man and expect. I'm not saying we don't live in a perfect world. You hit a dude, especially the way how hard or where you hit him. Some dudes are gonna hit back. It's just the instinct. Even if they don't mean it, it's an instinct. Like it's an instinct to defend yourself. Somebody hits you with a quick one, or sneaks you, or throws a pot at you, or whatever. Oh nah. I mean, it's not funny, but it's just like you should never hit a man. You should never hit a man.
Right. And then we actually need these ladies to be accountable for them hitting the man as well, because that always gets disregarded. So it's a closed comment about he's clearly a man, he's going to win. So with that logic, why are you putting your hands on a man? Y'all also acting like it happened once, clearly it happened over time more than once. So to your same advice to her, she should also leave as well. So there again, we always have this instance where the accountability is always going to be with the man, and it totally avoids the ladies, and that shit is going to end now. That's what Joe's
Yeah, I agree 100% on that, man. Like even Jazz, our barber, he'll tell us, listen, I will slide you if you punch me in the face, like on some real stuff. So, and listen, I tell females clearly, I'd be like, listen, this will not end well for you. So I will second think this before you make this move and whatnot. And usually they back down because, again, you're not going to punch me in the face. Like, I'm just not going to let it happen. I'm sorry. So, and I don't condone hitting women either. But I just can't, let that happen. So I think Josh's point is correct. Take your accountability for your action in the entire event. It's not a one-sided fight, especially if you just punch them in the face and whatnot. But I do think overall, they just had a toxic, violent relationship. So she's only telling one side of the story in that situation. Like, I don't believe he walked up to her and said, I'll break your ribs. I just don't believe it. I think there was something more to the story. Kind of like Tori and Meg, right? There's always more to the story that we don't know the other part of it.
Which I'm still waiting to find out. Tori, come out of hiding, man. Say something, please.
Oh, Miguel, you want to read closed comments? That kind of
sure.
Again.
Sure. So she said it's like a child hitting you and then you beat them. It's still child abuse because of the disparity in strength and power. And what? Hold on. And then what's the balance?
Yeah, I just hope that people who with this philosophy keep that same energy if your child strikes you. We all know that you're going to have some physical retribution. Now, whether it's going to be what degree of beating, that again, that's to each his own, but there will be a physical retaliation to that child to set a precedent that that's not permitted in this home.
And a minor is a minor until they're 18. There's some strong ass 15-year-olds out here. So it might not be a disparity in strength and power. That's number one. And I don't think they say it's child, whatever, like what she's saying. I don't think that's necessarily true. So again, man, Chloe, are you saying it's okay for her to hit him and he shouldn't hit her back at all?
Right, because that's the point that's just totally being disregarded. So Chloe says, degree of beating, he's a grown-ass man, leave if she's abusing you, dog. Well, here's the thing. She made a decision, she opened the door, and Joe closed it. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think you want to be independent women. You want to be equal rights. You want to make the same money. You want to be able to stand on your own. But now when you punch me in the face, I can't do anything because I'm a man. How's that fair?
See, again, you want to have your cake and eat it too, and that shit ends today. you have equality, or you gonna adhere by the gender rules? That easy.
Yeah, Chloe, you're my homie, but I don't agree with this at all and stuff like that. And listen, I want to see a 15-year-old girl punch you in the face and see what you do. Or not at that point.
Right.
Since you're worried about the fact of the genders, I want to see what you do if some 16, 15-year-old girl just haul up and punch you in the face. On that. So, but I want to move forward, man. We're gonna go on to the dating topics right now. We are done with the pop culture, and I believe that
there's a follow-up question for you, Miguel.
I'm sorry. Chloe once again says the thing you. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back. So I'm saying if she hitting you, then bounce. Don't say, oh, she hit me too, so I hit her each time. The thing you do is leave. What does hitting her solve? What did hitting him solve? Like,
right.
He's not answering the question.
Part of being neglected. And again, this is the seriousness. So we're actually, this is a PSA for all the ladies out there, right? This is why Miguel's point is so potent, right? If someone hits you in the face, that's going to be a chemical emotional reaction. It's a reaction, right? If someone hits you in the face, it's not like, oh, perhaps I should delegate the dude. Think what I should do next. That's not how human beings are.
No, we're not built that way and stuff like that. And a lot of us aren't raised that way either, in other aspects. So it's just not, going to happen. And you see plenty of, okay, let's keep going, Chloe. She said, if she was the first person, Chloe says, if she was the first person to do that, then you should bounce. You should hit her back and stay. I don't understand how she's not understanding this. If you punch someone in the face, expect to be hit back. I don't care of the gender, of the age, of what is it. I don't understand why it's expected for you to be able to punch me in the face and I walk out the door. Why is it expected? I don't understand that. So I just don't get it. And she says, I get that if it's only once, but it was over time, at that point. Well, to your point, Chloe, that goes to my point about their toxic relationship. I think they built to a pattern of I hit you, you hit me, I hit you, you hit me in that particular mission. But you keep saying he whooped her ass. He's saying she messed him up. We don't know who won these fights. So we can't just take sides in that regard either as well.
Right. This disregarding the female's responsibility again.
And Joe Budden is built like a crackhead.
Yeah.
And Tahiri looks pretty built too. She got some big old arms now.
This last statement,
that Dominican in her.
And this last statement is not true. She says he's a man. He's going to win regardless. Josh, you saw her. That's not true.
That's definitely not true. Especially now with chicks taking kickboxing classes and all that. Yeah, right. Krav Maga.
How about a chick from
Stein did beat up her ex-boyfriend.
Nah, how about a chick from Mandalorian, Gina Carrero or whatever? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, you seeing her arms? Come on now.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but again, so this is a wonderful teaching moment. So we actually see the selective morality in real time.
I might take Tahiri. Honestly, if I'm looking at Joe and Tahiri. Seriously.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw her, she looked like she's a man beater, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not necessarily
chicks
saying
from New York, man, they dangerous.
I'm not necessarily saying that. And then I didn't even get to the fact that when they came back for Love and Hip Hop last year, and what I'm hearing is that she was flirting with him all season and trying to get back with him or something like that. But he's the guy who beat you up 10 years ago. So I'm trying to figure this out. Like, what exactly happened? So
Chloe said,
she's trying to get the bag.
She is clout chasing. You could tell by the photo she puts out how much of a clout chaser she is. I'm just saying that he should have left instead of beating her. And Chloe, all we're saying is that perhaps she should have left before hitting him. So again, you're totally, well, not you, but in general, women in general are negating women in these instances personal responsibility.
I think by you emphasizing beating her, you're making it bigger than what we all know what it was. We don't know what it was, but we know they were toxic, and we know they hit each other apparently. But we don't know if she punched him in the face and he punched her right back. That's an eye for an eye, right? That's in the Bible, for God's sakes. Like, so I'm trying to figure out, you know, where the situation went wrong here. So.
And again, it's a reaction. It's not a logical, you know, decision.
She said, "Don't bring the Bible into this." But
all right, on that note, let's go to the next subject.
All right.
But she's essentially saying, "Turn the other cheek." How ironic. But yeah, next topic.
All right. So for dating and relationships, you had this on your Poetic Charm show. I wanted Banks and I to be able to talk about this. This is the breakup, makeup, makeover meme, the glow up meme. And Banks, when you see this, what do you think about this?
Let me jump back on the camera for this. I love this because it's like, but the glow up, and I don't know what you would call it, the downfall or whatever, is somewhat similar. Also, when you're also begin dating the person, like your first date, they dress up, do all this to pull you in. And then as they get more and more comfortable, they start dressing, instead of dressing up when you go out, they start doing that less and less. And then the opportunity when things go left or go downhill, you know, they decide to go back into that quote unquote glow up phase and maybe start working out, start putting makeup, getting their hair done, start wearing tighter clothing, you know, start watching more Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion videos and all that. And I always found that interesting on I guess going back into the idea of seduction or the art of seduction of, you know, you let yourself go or you tend to stop caring about your appearance once you get more comfortable. But then when things get really uncomfortable, not everyone, but most would, you know, try to get better. All of a sudden they want to work on them. They want to glow. They want to, you know, start reading more books, start getting their hair done, start putting more quotes up and all this again. And you see it all the time when people, especially when people are heavy with the whole social media thing of posting the relationships and all that, and then deleting everything and then going into tirade of, you know, working on me, new year, new me, doing this, cutting my hair off, whatever. I just never understood, like, why not just keep the same energy? Why not just be consistent in your appearance or what you do to give off that idea of the sexuality that you have to provide to your mate? Why turn it off and then turn it back on when things, you know, get shaky? Like, what's the point of that? It's like getting into the point of, like, you know, you marry somebody, they look this way, and then as they get comfortable, years go on, they're a whole completely different person, and the other mate may get upset because you're not the same person. You're different. You let yourself go, but then when something goes wrong or something bad happens, that's when you want to go, you know, turn things up. That's when you want to get sexy. That's when you want to start working out. That's when you want to fix your hair. That's when you want to switch the clothes that you're wearing. Like, why push it to that point? Why not just be consistent? And my thing is consistency, especially if I met you that way and then you switch it up, like with this perfect picture or example, you start doing this, because that, especially in America, this always happens. You go out with somebody, they do this. Once they feel like things are solid, they start getting a little bit more lazier and more lazier and more lazier, and they switch up. Kind of going back into what Trevor Noah was saying in the example that we were talking about the other week, of how people tend to sell this image or idea of what they are alluding to be. And then as time goes on, they can't keep up with that idea that they're trying to portray. And the more as time goes on, little by little, that image starts to disappear. So it's all a game, but I think it's a foolish game. I just feel like just keep the same energy, or just try to do it a bit more, and maybe you won't have to, turn into a chameleon when the predators, going against you.
Okay, and as we see from the Poetic Charm dating, when she says accept me at my worst, why are you giving me your worst? And I think that's a great question as well. And also believe I heard you say on Poetic Charm, Josh, that if she would have did the glow up before the relationship disintegrated, maybe she would have kept the guy. Something like that, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, we all seen this. And again, back in my Tinder days, you see this on every girl's profile, right? If you can't handle me at my worst, and again, Josh is not a fan of cliches because it's lazy. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. But again, if you're not putting your best foot forward, you don't deserve to be in a relationship with me. Duh.
But just to play, well, not even devil's advocate, but just to kind of add some more to this. My question is that because I believe a lot of women, and Chloe just said, let me add to this. She says usually when the glow up happens, they don't want the dude no more. Just saying. Is that true? I don't believe that, Chloe. But I do believe that women do this because they know that the ex will give it energy, right? So if he runs into her, if he sees her on social media, he's going to say, damn, girl, you're looking good. Like, you lost weight, you got your hair done, whatever. So my question is, why do we as men, not you and I, but men in general, why do we give it so much energy? You know what I'm saying? Because that's where I think the problem really lies at. Because if we didn't give it any energy, and we walked past our ex after she did her quote unquote go up and just like, yo, what's up? How you doing? And didn't give it any type of energy at all, it wouldn't happen so much and whatnot. So,
but see, hold on, Mike, to add on to Chloe's point, we don't want the dude no more. I get that, but just say that then. Why bring yourself to a lower level, take it away from your glowness just because you don't like someone anymore? Just say that. Why completely let yourself go and then quote unquote work back up again? And then I guess if you like the person, you get comfortable and then let yourself go again. Like, huh?
Exactly.
That ain't working. That's not working.
Tragic Bronson alert.
I get where that can happen, Chloe. She said, I'm sorry, let me read that. She said, usually they say when a girl start hitting the gym at the end of a relationship, they about to bounce. Think they let themselves go by accident and getting comfortable. So I get where that can happen. I find it usually when the girl been dumped or the guy cheated on her. It's almost like I'll show him what he's missing type of deal, more than anything or stuff like that.
It's definitely both. And I think everyone's right here. It's just I think for Miguel's point, I do think that that energy to prove, to show up the X is that catalyst to get them into the gym and go extra hard and get that revenge body, as Chloe was talking about. Chloe's show.
Yeah.
Chloe Kardashian. With Corey Callier.
And right. To my original point, is because us as men, we give it so much energy and whatnot. We got to start ignoring these glow ups. That way they won't, keep doing them overall and stuff like that.
Honestly, I never actually saw any glow ups because, again, once it's over, it's over. But the only reason I saw is because they threw it in my face. And sure, I, handled that in the moment. But after that,
Wait, how did they throw it in your face, though?
Well, again, if you go out of your way to contact someone, which an ex will usually do, right? Especially if she does have a glow up. Oh, like, look what I've been doing. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. I've been reading. I've been meditating. I've been going. I've been eating healthy. congratulations. You're doing all the things that would have kept the relationship. But you do look fantastic. So you get a couple of these rounds, get a couple of these strokes, and then you're going to be back into the dating pool afterwards.
That's hilarious, bro. Have you had a girl do a glow up on you, Banks?
Let me think. Yeah. I've seen it happen. You know, that's when usually the quotes come up. The gym pictures, the tighter outfits. You know, it's like I said, it's a game, man. I'm like, why? What's the point of you doing that? If you just kept the same energy, you wouldn't have to do any of that. There's no reason to glow up. You just like, all right, this is over. I'm here. And then you'll find the next person. Maybe you should switch up this whole glow up phase and you might get something that may stick a bit longer.
Interesting. And Chloe, I want to ask for a comment. Have you ever had a glow up on an ex-boyfriend that he noticed, I would say. But I do want to say, like, just play devil's advocate though. What if she was consistent, right? And you met her like the girl on the left, right? Mm-hmm. But then she had a glow up afterwards. So you chose to be with the girl who looked, I guess, regular, and then had a glow up afterwards, stuff like that, and whatnot. Would that make you feel a certain type of way, Josh? I guess.
I don't know, because at the end of the day, if you broke up with the other person and they end up looking like that, like, you did accept them at their worst, and during that moment, they didn't have any type of inspiration to look like the person on the right.
Right. Okay.
But it still comes down to that point of complacency and laziness and all the things that are incredibly unattractive in a mate.
Interesting. What about you, Banks?
I got an example.
All right.
There was a girl that I won't even say I dated her. We like it was an interesting scenario. But there was this girl. I think this is like in the college days. She went to the school in PA from Philly. Didn't have much money, so the glow up basically alludes to the agenda of, obviously once you graduate, you get a little money. Obviously, your clothing choices are going to change, right? But at this particular moment, this girl didn't have much money, quote unquote broke college student, but she had a crazy body. She was I think she was Puerto Rican. She was tall, slim, crazy ass, like ridiculous. Like it was like, wow. But the way she dressed, at least from what she told me, she dressed a certain way because she would get a lot of attention. So she would dress like in baggy clothes or kind of dress like a boy to avoid all the attention she would get. But another thing was because she didn't have much money to buy, certain outfits or whatever, right? But I remember when I chose to talk to her, I was like, all right, whatever. But I realized the package that came with this. So I took a step down, like, all right, whatever. Because when I saw what she had, I was like, whoa, we can maybe make this work. But in all actuality, the personality that came with it was just horrendous. Like, she was just so dumb. I hate to say it, but she was just like, her conversation, her delivery, everything about her was not good at all. And I guess
you are really dumb. For real.
Yeah. And it just sucked. It's like when you try to have a conversation with somebody and then they try to, I guess make it as if they're smarter than you. And it just goes the completely left field. And with the Philly lingo and all that, I was just like, I don't know. And then my boy found her and, he went on with her or whatever. And then it was like the same thing. Like, he didn't learn from my mistake, but it's just like this whole glow up thing. It's good, but then sometimes it could probably tell you something when about the girl's personality. Like, is it even worth going through all this? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. And with her, she completely changed her style and how she dresses now. She wears more makeup, changes her hair, wears thinner clothing, tighter clothing, more revealing clothing. She shows off her body more, but she's still a bird brain with a degree. So that even though she may look good, the whole package that she presents, it gets her nowhere, because my friend still talks to her to this day, and she tells him about all the mishaps of the guys that play her and the broken relationships and all that. So this whole quote unquote glow up thing did nothing but just attract more of the nonsense that, you know, she went through in her younger days post glow up.
Yeah. And to go ahead, Josh.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say is that it's, you know, it's just marketing at the end of the day, because unless you have that internal glow up, and I gotta shout out 29ish who had this meme. The glow up has to be internal, or it's not going to be a glow up, as John is alluding to, right?
It's not just external, as what Chloe was saying. It's not just physical.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless it's internal, like the external is just going to be marketing, as you alluded to. You're still going to be a bird brain or whatever, tonta, right? Like, and that's all, that's her level, right? That's her only level.
And that's ex-girlfriends in general, right? Like whatever you didn't like likely didn't change. You know what I mean? On that level. So no matter how their face or body looks now and stuff like that, the little things that they could do are still the same. So you still don't want to be back with them. Now, to Josh's point, you know, if you had a glow up and now trying to show it to me, that's telling me I can smash again. So I would just smash the new version of you. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Miguel. And to close question, y'all look at glow ups as being only physical. Well, as gentlemen, that's the only glow up that's going to get our attention, Chloe. If we're going to be honest.
It's like trying to fix a Mercedes Benz, but the transmission is completely blown out. But you completely changed the body. No dents, no broken windows. The tires are great, but you can't drive the car.
Right.
and I'm not like having lunch with you. I don't know what else is going on in your world. I only see what I see. So I only see the physical at that point. So you know,
yeah,
but
it happens because for whatever reason, ladies keep forgetting that there's a difference between men and women, and we just look at things differently. So until this, you know, is actually actualized, there won't be as much confusion in dating and communication between the sexes. But again, we have this agenda about blending the sexes, about equality. But then at the same time, people still want chivalry. They still want to be like, oh, you can't hit women, but they can strike you first, and they don't get accountable for it. So it's just one of those things. So until people are actually accountable for their actions and they keep that same energy across the board, then they're going to have a lot more positive interactions with dating. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah, and you know, it's a reason why you don't really hear about a man glow up, right? We don't really do that. Like, we don't, like, even if a girl was horrible or cheated on or something like that, we don't be like Revenge Body 2020. Like, we don't do that. We just kind of move on and stuff like that. So
yeah, basically,
it's a little different. But moving on, and this is a question. There's no meme with this, but came from something that shouts out to Destiny, asking the Poetic Charm podcast. And my question for John and Josh is, do guys or should guys keep mental receipts of things they have done for a woman, even if she didn't ask? Because that's like the fine line, right? I didn't ask for it. So what do you think, John?
I mean, why not? Why not keep a mental library of all the good that you've done? Sometimes, you know, even just to play, like, at least in me, I might not take it as seriously, but if they're like talking nonsense or whatever, I'm like, well, what about that trip we did? Or, right. You know, just to add on to the feeling like, oh, I don't ever do this, I don't ever do that. I'm like, that's funny, because you weren't saying that when we did this or when we did that. Oh,
And the
okay.
next response will be, I didn't ask you for that. So how do you respond to that?
You didn't ask, but you took it.
Exactly.
So keep that same energy then. Can I have it back?
Exactly. Thank you, John.
Oh, okay. So obviously you didn't want it, even though you didn't ask for it. And that's another thing. That shows that I pay attention because apparently you did like it.
Josh, what are your thoughts about that question?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with John completely because at the end of the day, you still accepted it. Because how often again, as we know, full disclosure, ladies are solicited and offered things on a constant basis, on a daily basis. And people will pick and choose what to accept. But as John alluded to, you chose to accept. So sure, you saw some type of value in what was offered, right? But again, whenever you get in these logical conversations with women, it goes nowhere.
No, because their whole thing is always going to be, I didn't ask for it. But I agree with you guys. That's not the point. You still took it. And you had a choice to say yes or no. But let's be clear. And you still took the particular item. And I also think women sometimes can put kind of like pressure on the guy to do these things without actually quote unquote asking for it, right? By mentioning it, by saying how much they need it, by saying, well, I guess I got to ask my guy friend at work or some other person to do it. And then we feel this kind of pressure to say, well, I need to do this for my girl. But then you come back and say, well, I ain't asked for it. Well, did you really not ask for it? You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't think they should keep actual like a tally somewhere, but mentally you always know what you did as well. And I also don't think you should like throw it in someone's face, but it's okay to mention it if, like John said, they're coming at you sideways for something. So,
like you didn't do nothing at all for them.
Which happens frequently, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When them arguments come up or whatever the case may be, they're definitely bringing that up. A woman's definitely bringing that up.
Absolutely. And then you're going to get the actual receipts that Miguel uses, his vernacular. You're going to get these receipts, right?
Josh might keep actual receipts like that.
Oh, I would never. Nah.
I know. I'm not joking on that. All right. We can move forward. We got a meme for this one. And it says, no woman wants to see her man all in the girl's likes on social media. We discuss on that.
What does it say? Don't no girl want to see her nigga on bitches like that. That's true. A lot of women hate that, but it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, because they're not keeping that same energy. But go ahead, Brother Banks.
Elaborate.
Like, here's my thing. I know women, like, especially with me in the past, like girls who like comment on my page or say things. Let's say there's a girl I'm talking to or has interest. They would take mental notes of all those likes and comments. And then let's say I go out or we're having a conversation or whatever, they'd be like, oh, you're so popular. Oh, you got all these hoes. All this other. And I'm like, where did this come from? I'm like, this is a social media platform, right? People are meant to like and comment on what you put out, right? Or are they just supposed to just not like it? Am I just supposed to disable all likes and comments and just reserve it for you? I don't think that's how social media works. And then when it comes to women get hounded by men countless of times through DMs, through video chat requests, through likes, through comments, through whatever. Some of these guys are creative and you see it. And I'm like, oh, should I feel a certain type of way when some guy's like, oh, I want to drink your bathwater? Or you need to leave whoever dude you're messing with right now. He a lame. He ain't gonna do this for you. Or you need to let me eat. Oh, that looks tasty, but I bet what's under that tastes even better. Whatever the case may be, or whatever they're gonna say, that happens to women all the time, all the time, every time. So that whole argument, better be no hoes commenting or liking my niggas stuff, blah 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 blah. I mean, at the end of the day, that stuff is inevitable when you have social media. If that's the case, you must just delete it because it's going to happen.
John, why don't you answer Chloe's question?
Let me look. Y'all look at facts. It's one thing receiving versus going out there and giving. What is go get? So how how is it giving out that energy? What if you just so like okay? Let's say it this way, right? Let's say there's a couple. One person looks better than the other person, right? And let's say the guy happens to be more attractive, right? And when you are an attractive person, you get a lot of energy. You get a lot. It's just human nature. People go out for what they see. Same as if you see an attractive celebrity or artist or actor, you are going to reciprocate that energy because you like what you see. So, I mean, I think it really it depends because you could just generally be posting a picture. I'm not saying you're posting prints or you're wearing certain outfits, but let's just say you happen to be somebody who dresses a certain way and this is how you met the person. And the person's not going to change, obviously, because they're with you, because that's how you met them as, how they were presented to you as. So they're supposed to change what they've been doing and how they've been dressing and how they've been acting just because you go out with them now. I don't think that's fair because the person is doing exactly what they've always been doing.
So she says, Chloe, like, I can't get mad if girls like my dude stuff for sliding in his DMs. I would expect that. He looked good. That's why we would be dating. It would be more of how he responds to that energy, same as how I would respond. Okay, that's fair.
That's valid.
But how about him just liking a photo? I think what this meme is saying, liking another woman's post. How would you feel about that, Chloe? And while she writes that, Josh, what do you think about this meme?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of selective morality for me because at the same time, in the same breath, how many ladies will have an issue with their men entertaining other solicitations or flirting or whatnot and other things like that? But at the same time, they get solicited all the time.
I just think it's a whole lot to do for nothing. Like, it's just a like. You know, like if I'm scrolling down a page and, you know, okay, she's a cute girl. So I put a heart. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not, especially if it's not a comment. Like, I mean, even a comment is not meaning I want to go like bone her right now. You know what I mean? But a like is even less. So I think it's just like, yeah, a like is, she just said a like is a like, no biggie. And I agree with that. I guess in this meme, you know, and I heard females agree to it. Like throughout this post, females agree to this stuff like that. But I'm like, I don't see why that's such a huge deal to me. Now sliding in DMs and like to Chloe's point, responding in DMs, stuff like that is a little that's a little much and whatnot. But even if I commented on a girl, let's say if she put a you know, a little sexy picture and I put fire emojis or something like that. What does that mean? I mean, I thought she looked good. Whatever. No, I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, like, so I just think it's a whole lot to do, you know, like you gotta have more you gotta be more secure with your spot in a relationship. This is social media, like John said. That's what it's for. To like, comment, and you know, stuff like that. Or whatever. So I don't see why that would cause her to be all upset. Now, if a girl in my face in the street, that's different. Like, you know, on that, but I'm gonna move on forward because we all kind of agree on this, and we got the next one here. No, I like this. Men are more loyal than women. Simple as that. Meme included. So, or maybe not.
Yeah.
I get that meme. I get where the person was coming from, because if a guy finds something in a woman that he really likes, and the woman, let's just say, fulfills the things that he desires, and he feels that he can't get it from anyone else, and hits those particular brackets on his bucket list, he is more subjected to being loyal to her, as opposed to some, not all women, but to some women can be petty depending on what he does or what they may find out, and do something behind his back, and the guy will never know, just because of how sneaky some women can be. And that's a fact. Women are the best cheaters. I don't care what anyone says. It's a fact. It's just the reality. Like, a woman could do any and everything right underneath your eyes, and you'll never know unless it's somebody told you.
I think it's a fact. I think it's a fact, and we discussed this before on New Year Radio, and I had a whole story about it. But the meme says men are more loyal than women. Let's talk about it. Once a man puts his all into you, he's not going nowhere unless you fuck up. Women will cheat if you forget to say good morning and whatnot. Josh, what do you think about the meme?
That was funny.
I think it's spot on, because usually in both cases, whether it's a man or a woman, whatever they're not getting, they're going to look for it in something for someone else. But as she's alluding to, for men, it's unless you fuck up. For women, it's unless you not say good morning or corny shit like
that. I definitely agree, and I think the biggest part of it is that once he puts his all into you, men, we tend to be, playing the market a lot, bachelors, having a lot of different women and stuff like that. So if we actually chose to, let's say, retire our jersey, quote unquote, and put our all into you, now we're loyal or whatever, because we didn't have to do that, right? We always had options and stuff like that. Right. So I think at that point, once that educated and choice comes to a man, he's going to be super duper loyal at that point. Now, anything before that, you don't know. I got to be real with you.
Right.
But
especially with these new age women now.
Yeah. But after that point,
these Rihannas and Cardi B's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Especially that little meme that, I don't know if one of y'all posted it, but like when the reporter was like, so Rihanna, what is it that you look for in your next man? And Rihanna's like, oh, I don't need a man. That's first and foremost.
Even though the question,
or even with Madonna. Or Cher, I'm sorry, Cher.
Yeah, with Cher.
Yeah, but and the other part of it, like I said about women, I think I mean, the good morning part is funny, but I think they are, even in more committed relationships, they either find more reasons to cheat or talk about, stepping out or cheating more with their friends and stuff like that. Like, you hear those conversations all the time. You never hear a guy like, hey, yo, bro, I think I'm going to cheat next week. Like, you never really be hearing that a lot like that. So
right.
It's about.
Or even that show with, where's that show called? Issa Rae? Insecure. I watched like 3 episodes due to a girl that made me watch it. I feel like Josh, this one. Don't get me wrong, it's a good show, but I personally wouldn't just sit down and watch it. But I was forced to watch it, and I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy it, but I'm not gonna go out and just go on my own will and watch it. But from what I've seen, there's an example of when Issa, she had issues with her boyfriend or whatever, and she decided to step out and, go through her whole phase. And I'm glad the fluidity and that example that she chose to give off, where, just in case something's not working out in your relationship, or you have like some setback, you want to, play your options. And then you may want to go back to that particular guy and never make mention of what you did, during whatever break or, intern that you made a choice to have or play a part just because you felt like you weren't getting from your significant other.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, this kind of reminds me of the domestic violence issue, because when women cheat, they have a plethora of excuses that are usually accepted by other women. But if a man cheats, they're the worst thing in the world.
Oh, bingo. And like I said, with that whole Monica and Brandy thing, there's obvious cues of tension, and women, every single comment I've seen on the comments, ignored all of it and said, this is great. They're glowing. See how they're friendly. See black magic. Women are great. All this. I'm like, you clearly are not looking at the jabs that they're throwing at each other. Or they're doing this for a marketing ploy. Monica has a single. Brandy has an album. That's why they're doing this.
Yeah. A couple backup points to you guys' statements. Let's read Chloe first. She said, men act different and are less forgiving when a woman cheats. If we're going to bring sex, if we're going to bring sex into this, what about
the woman who cheat, who never make mention of anything? And let's say they did have sex or whatever, and they play the idea as if they're innocent. And that's a big thing. Oh, I'm innocent. I don't do nothing.
By the way, the whole concept of emotional cheating is a female made-up term to alleviate their blame from cheating. It's avoiding the responsibility and accountability.
Right, but let's answer her question. Are men less forgiving when a woman cheats? That's a good question she asked.
Well, of course.
I think it depends.
Okay.
I mean, to Miguel, to your point, if again we're hanging up the player's jersey, we're not hanging up the player jersey for you to act single.
Yeah,
because we can. You feel me? And we can have those Kobe MJ numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I already got those, but yeah, I feel you on that. But no, I hear you. I don't think Banks. It depends on the scenario, which makes us not forgive and whatnot. Like, right. I told the whole story on a New You Radio. I walked in on a girl in the bed, with a dude, and after my alleged katana blade, I wasn't forgiving, but because she was in the bed with a dude at our house. You know what I'm saying? So I think Banks' point is valid. It depends on the scenario and whatnot. And I will also say that like I said, so insecure. You're right, Banks. She cheated on her boyfriend because she didn't like what he was doing with his career. Let's just base it down to that. And she cheated. He didn't cheat on her, but she cheated on him. And then from there, she went into a whole phase at that point. So I don't think men.
And I love that.
You know what's crazy? Like when you think about that and think about this meme, you're correct. So she didn't feel like that he was doing the right thing with his career, that he was trying to, he was trying to, for Josh, for context, Josh, he was a web designer trying to build his own app, but she wanted him to go out there and get a 9-to-5 job. So, she didn't want him to try to, do what he wanted to do, and felt like he could have made more money to support the rent by just getting a regular job, right? For context.
Oh, so right? She was micromanaging. Oh, okay.
Basically. But the point is, on the flip side, to go with this meme, we would never just sleep with somebody else because a girl wants to follow her dreams, right? And not have a 9-to-5 job. Men don't do that.
Close in the comments. You might want to read the comments, Migo.
Okay. Where we at? If we want to bring up sex, we talk about what's fun. Let's see. On the show, she cheated because she didn't feel like he loved her. What? That's not true. And whatnot. It wasn't because of his career. Mike, you're wrong. He emotionally closed her out.
And she said, but women are expected to forgive. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they're more likely to forgive, to your original point, right? And I think one of the reasons why women are more likely to forgive is probably this reason right here. Remember, fellas, as long as you give her some A1 dick and look at her like this while you lying, she's yours no matter what.
That's a good one. Chloe, to your point, I'm talking about the initial scene.
I love how they use Christina Milian.
I know. But they did come back later on and try to explain more to it. But either way, he didn't cheat. Men would never even that. Okay, you want to use that? Men not going to cheat because they feel emotionally closed out. Like, we don't do that or whatever. Like, you know.
That's female verbiage right there. That doesn't even compute to men.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you guys cheat for smaller reasons. To the main point, than we cheat for when you're loyal. And I agree with that 100%. And whatnot. Yeah, that's it. I think it's right. 100%. I think that when we're loyal, we're loyal. We're not changing unless unless we fuck up and whatnot. But do you agree with that, Chloe? Like all the stuff, even whatever reason you want to say she cheated for, men wouldn't cheat for that same reason and whatnot. While she's in the comments. And we got one more thing, because I'm going to skip the fifth one because that's going with something next week. But I'm going to skip over to hold on. She responded. Men cheat because of convenience and access. They cheat for different reasons. You guys agree? I don't know.
Convenient and access.
I definitely agree.
I agree, because when women cheat, there's always a reason. I feel like a more sophisticated reason, because of how clever they can be when it comes to them hiding it.
Absolutely.
I think like there's more when a woman does it. There's usually whatever reason they feel justified in doing it. It's just like
they make it work.
They make it work, and they make it convenient, and they make it so clean, as if you thought you would feel bad for doing. Maybe you get caught up doing something once while your chick was, finessing and gambling here and there, and she was so good at it, she'll make you feel bad. And that's the funny part.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the convenience and access. I don't know about the access part. I do think they cheat for convenience in that regard. But I do think, back to the main point, I do think when they're loyal, they don't cheat for convenience. I think when women are loyal, they still cheat for all types of reasons, to be quite honest with you.
Absolutely. Convenience and access. And especially if she doesn't have a glow up within the relationship. And as we all know, right? Usually men are more desired when they're in a committed relationship. So you're going to have women who are more attractive than the significant other soliciting your man. So that would be another reason.
Hey, Banks, Chloe said loyal women don't cheat, bro.
Yeah, loyal women don't cheat. Okay.
Yeah. Right. As what's it called? As Breezy said, these hoes ain't loyal. So
let a loyal woman meet her favorite celebrity.
Exactly.
For one night opportunity. All these songs. Come on, please.
And you're not gonna find out until 2 decades later. So that concert I went to, while you're already on the hook. Oh, now you tell me. As John, just being that much clever, right?
Exactly. Even that on Eddie Murphy. I think it was Raw. When you mess up with your chick, let your chick go on one of these vacations and meet the Jamaican guy.
Yeah.
That's speaking that accent to her, talking about if you were my woman, I would do this, that, and the third to you, and then make you come several times. Blah 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 blah. Like, come on, man. Like, I could met a chick like that. She was dating this guy, and she went to Jamaica, and mind you, she wasn't giving the guy any play. But when she went to Jamaica, she was with her friends. They were drinking. She was like, "Oh, this guy's sexy, blah, blah, blah. He's giving you eyes." And then she was really on her hot girl-ish. And the dude took it down at the resort outside on the picnic table. But mind you, she would never do anything like that in the States. And that's another thing with some women. When they go on vacation, just because no one can see them, they tend to act out more. We could agree to disagree, but I know it's a fact.
Oh, that's a fact.
Because you see women, even when it comes to the pictures that they post or that they keep in their archives, they feel more open to like put on bikinis, take pictures of them topless, saying I'm open to the, and they'll have like a poem or a quote under it, or they're just more subjective to doing more, being more free and active and living out their hoish ways because they feel like they're not going to be judged because they are not being seen by the average person. So regardless of what they do, they feel like they can do whatever the hell they want and come back as if, you know, they're angels.
Absolutely.
And Close says dudes be broke, cheating, and the girl still stays. And about your example, I guess she said because her dude, I want to read it right, her dude wasn't hitting it right. But I want to say, you said that Joe should have left because Tahiri punched him in the face. So shouldn't this girl leave if the dude not hitting it right rather than cheat on him? I just want to.
Absolutely. Again, collective morality again. But at the end of the day, I think on both sides, both men and women, if they're not satisfied, they will cheat at the end of the day.
Right. I think they possibly.
And to coin Miguel's phrase, women are going to cheat for petty libel reasons.
Yes, I definitely agree. Oh, the whole comment in the Raw example, I guess the Eddie Murphy Raw, he said, dude was taking her for granted. If she's satisfied, she's not cheating. Whatnot. I mean that last one, I can say that if she's satisfied, she's not cheating. That will happen 90% of the time. But again, if you're not satisfied, first of all, let's have conversations. Why you're not satisfied? That's first and foremost.
Exactly. Speak up. Instead of you being mum the word like, oh, you got it. I don't want to hurt your ego. Nah, hurt my ego. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. That don't make no sense. Like You're not gonna say nothing. Okay, what's the point?
Right? Isn't it amazing? We do all this talking, but still lack communication. What is that about? Right?
And it's the biggest thing women complain about. Communication is key, but when it comes to certain things, they won't talk about it.
Right.
Okay.
Just like avoiding facts, they're not going to talk about facts either because that's when they're hopelessly outgunned.
Yeah, if I'm not satisfying you, let's talk about it. And at that point, if I can't fix it, then dip. Don't cheat on me. Like that's not cool with that situation or not. But moving on forward to the next topic. Last one I got here is this video. I love it. The woman makes the guy wait 90 days and then go ahead, play it, Josh.
I've been dating this guy and I have a 90-day period, so we can't have sex until after 90 days. So, absolutely. So, I am wondering what should I do. I was excited for this intimate moment.
Okay, now watch. And this is why sometimes it's better to just get into it.
True story.
Go ahead, Savon. Now what happened?
I was excited for this intimate moment. Mm-hmm. However, after I saw him in the shower and shirtless, he's not as fit as I thought. So, I don't want him anymore. What should I
do? Well, Savon. Maybe a more mature woman, I'm just saying, would understand. And don't get me wrong, because we all have our sophomoric ways. I know I do. But in terms of relationships, a more mature woman in 90 days already digs him. So whatever's under his clothes almost doesn't even matter because you got this beautiful guy who you've spent 90 days with.
True.
But in your case, you need body, so I guess just dump him.
Yo, when I seen this, I just laughed. This old ass woman seems to be stuck so far in the past, it's ridiculous. This woman is about 35, 40, and you might say that's not that old, but she's not 25, 30. See, the thing about it is this. A man, this is with intelligent women, is looked for to be a provider and a protector, not to have a six-pack. There's nothing wrong with having a six-pack. A man, it will behoove him to get his body right, just like it will behoove a woman to get her body right. But the primary thing that the average woman is looking for, an intelligent woman is looking for, is a man to be a protector and a provider, not to have a six-pack. But when it comes to women, it's a little bit different because we don't need a woman to be a protector and a provider for us unless you're the man's mommy. We need you to have the nice body. So we can get away with not having the body that we should have. But a woman, no, it's a little bit different. And then at the same time, this woman is worrying about seeing this man come out of the shower and not having a six pack. But what is this man going to say about you when he first sees you without that wig on? Are you going to understand him for saying, like, I don't want to deal with you because I've seen what's up under your wig? And I'm not just saying your hair, because a lot of you have long hair under your wigs. I'm not just talking about hair. I'm talking about what's inside of your head, your attitude, your way of dealing with life. Do you blame people all the time? Are you the victim in almost every situation? Do you deflect everything back on the other person? Do you have a problem listening? Do you take instruction from a man? Are you argumentative? I can go on and on and on. So the 35-year-old women and up who have this goofy ass, I'm still in high school, I have my type, a guy has to have a six pack to be with me. Let me ask you this. Do you have a six pack? Are you in the gym? See, you can't look for a man that takes care of his body and you're a woman who doesn't take care of her body. So the next time you have this dumbass thought process, I want you to think about this video. Actually, go back and replay the video, because she, as well as some of you, sound like whole idiots.
Eesh. I think Banks found this, right? What are your thoughts on this, Banks?
By Destiny.
I think Josh did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Destiny.
My thing with this is, I think the woman is obviously delusional when it comes to her approach on men, and that explains why at her age she's still going through these, scenarios of dating in these stupid 90-day rules. I think she should reevaluate her approach when it comes to dating and meeting guys, and the 90-day rule thing. Like, I don't know what she's achieving with that, especially at her age. A lot of men tend to go for women who are younger than what she is. So especially if she's adding on to the idea of waiting, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong if you want to wait, hey, do your thing, but for somebody who is experienced and who is used to not waiting or generally into the person, why put this barrier of this 90-day, prison term or probation period? I think it's nonsense. And it just adds on to the foolishness that she puts herself in. And it just explains and adds on to the fact as to why she may be, quote unquote, still single in comparison to others. And I think this is another good example where there was a video that was posted a couple of years ago of a young woman who did the same thing, except she was a bit more attractive than this one. But but she had like certain guidelines, like this person has to look like this, they have to do this, and they have to do that. And she, in a sense, hurt herself over the years, because now she was 40 and she had nothing to look for. She had nothing to look towards all those years, because she chose the bad guys, she chose the guys with nice bodies or whatever, but it got her nowhere, as opposed to looking at more than the physical appearance. But just to long story short, I think with her, I just think she's corny for her 90-day rule thing. The point of especially, I don't understand this part. I don't understand. If you are so keen on looks and presentation, and if women are so good at paying attention to detail, how could you not notice a guy you've been dating for what was that, 3 months? And how you not notice the guy's figure? I don't get that. I just don't understand how you not pay attention to that detail, to where you have to see him physically remove his clothing to say, oh wait, no, this is not it. I just don't understand that, because if it was me, I'm with a chick, I already have an idea of what you're looking like within, if it's not the first day, the second time we meet. I have a general idea if I'm gonna like what I see or not. But you with somebody for 3 months, and I'm assuming with your whole 90-day rule thing, you are receptive towards how he is and his presentation, you would have an idea what this person would generally look like. So I think this chick is just delusional.
Josh, your thoughts on the whole thing?
What do you want to read? Close comment?
Oh, I'll read her comments. She said because she read that Steve Harvey book. I said I had a girl who read and followed that book to a T, which is true. And then to John's comment about how does she not see it or know, Chloe said she was talking about his penis and whatnot, not his actual body and whatnot. And I said she said shirt off, but I think she was lying as well. Yeah.
And how are they actually?
I don't believe that.
Like at the stage of showering, but not smashing. The whole thing didn't make any sense at all, really.
I don't believe the penis part. I feel like women can be very honest about that, especially when you're on a talk show with a ton of other women. I'm sure if it was that, she would have said it. Yeah, I'm sure she would have said that. Come on, like it was a shirt. She was being politically correct. I doubt it. This woman seems to know what she wants. If that was the case, she would have said it. And I just think the whole thing, I still think she's delirious.
Right. And we talked about this on the New Year radio as well. The whole 90 rule is arbitrary at the end of the day. Same thing with girls who are like, oh, 3 dates or I don't smash on the first date. Rules are meant to be broken. You know what I mean? And Josh is always going to be the exception to the rule in most times. So,
and I think another thing to add to that, Josh, that Steve Harvey book, I Think Like a Man or whatever. At the end of the day, there's men, there's women. Women should think like women. Men should think like men. Simple. Right. It's simple math. It's like you should not force or try to step into a shoe that you were not built to understand. You will never understand a man, and a man will never understand a woman. It's best to be the best version of who you are, as opposed to stepping out of what you were created to be, just because you read some book about some guy who has issues with his own stepdaughter in regards to what she's doing in these streets, and she's not apparently following these particular guidelines. I think you should just follow your own advice and be true to yourself, as opposed to trying to figure out what it is to be a man, because at the end of the day, you'll never understand how it is to be a man, and a man will never understand how it is to be a woman. Simple as that.
So Close says he might be older as well. Oh yeah, she is delirious for sure. First of all, who's taking advice from Steve Harvey on relationships?
A lot of people.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he definitely finessed a lot of women in this world with that book. And then was springboard to two movies, actually. So his finesse game was on point. A lot of people bought it because of his name. And forget the part about Lori Harvey right now. More like the 3 marriages he had before that, or whatever. So why would you trust him, or whatever? But secondly, the whole, I just feel like it should happen naturally. We had this discussion or whatever. You shouldn't come up and say, yes, you got to wait 90 days because you're putting a kind of on a relationship. You're already like putting something on it. Remember, Jazz said like, okay, I'll wait 90 days. Day 91, I'm gonna still leave after I smash on day 90. So what's the point of waiting 90 days, right? At that point. And then the average guy, if you really tell him 90 days, he gonna wait for you 90 days. But he gonna be smashing everybody else during that 90 days or whatever like that.
Thank you, Miguel.
So what's the point of that as well? You more should just let it happen naturally and organically. This lady, however, who did make the guy wait and then, of course, saw him with his quote-unquote shirt off and decided to leave him, she's very immature for her age because what Wendy Williams said was correct. How do you date somebody for, let's say 60, 70 days and you're so close, you're in his house while he's in the shower, but now he don't got a six-pack, so you're like, all right, it's over for me? Like, that don't make sense or whatever at that point. So she needs to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, by the way, her body isn't on par with that either. So again, delusional.
Delusions of grandeur. And to that guy's point, man, he's right too, man. There's a lot of girls out here are built like Frosty the Snowman who want guys with six packs. I'm just saying.
Hey, but that's what feminism is teaching them. It's lying to the ladies at the end of the day.
That's what I'm saying. Especially if she was like a baddie, if she was like a Halle Berry, a Jennifer Lopez. Okay, I can see you demanding that. You put in the work. Okay, I get it. You have every right. But this lady was not even Janet Jackson. Like, come on, man.
Right.
You can't expect that energy, and then you don't even follow the same energy for yourself. It just doesn't make sense. This is why this woman is delirious. The minute she said that 90-day thing at her age, just walk away. You should have just walked away from she did him a favor.
Exactly.
It's okay, Cake. Stay strong. There's plenty of
I don't know if he had to walk away because again, a lot of dudes gonna just smash something else. So I don't know if he had to walk away, but I do feel like she did him a favor with the whole shirt off, and that's not good enough or whatever at that point. Because what were you doing for the whole 55, 60 days? Didn't you like him already? I don't understand that and whatnot. So that's and it can't be that much discrepancy between what you saw with his shirt on and shirt off. Well, like he was like Yokozuna to like Dave Chappelle or whatever. So that little bit of difference made you want to leave him? Like, come on, man. That's like not cool at all. So yeah, she did him a favor, I would say. And on the whole rule thing, I tell girls all the time, man, listen, you can do what you want, but I advise don't give a dude a number. By giving him a number, then you're gonna make him either dip, like Banks is saying, or just fuck other chicks or whatever like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm sure that gentleman had someone come over while he just got out the shower, most likely.
Right. And that lady is not pretty. She ain't cute. Yo, when Wendy Williams schooling you, you definitely know you wrong. Or whatever like that. So that's how I feel about that situation. So
completely lost. She's like Eddie Murphy's stand-up special, Delirious.
Ish.
She's literally a joke. When I saw that, I was like, I hope women can watch this and understand by looking at someone else that may have the same thought process as you, how silly this sounds.
No, they're gonna be like, yes, girl, talk that shit. Unfortunately.
I mean, it's a lot of women out here.
Be 75 years old, still with nobody.
And 15 cats. But there's a lot of women out here who do try to follow these arbitrary and antiquated rules of how long, how many days. And I guess they feel like if they wait that long, then they'll appreciate it. But it don't mean that, ladies. PSA to you overall and stuff like that. So I just want to let y'all know, like, don't give a number. Let it happen organically. It'll be much better for you guys because I know how guys act in that situation. So, and a guy, listen, and a guy, I don't agree with Banks. For a guy, don't say no. Just be like, all right, cool, and just smash something else. Go to time period. So, on that situation,
I didn't say no. I just said in her. I said in her for what she's saying. I just think it's nonsense. There's no reason for you to say that.
Because at the end of the day, depending on how skilled the guy is, he's probably going to end up seducing you before that 90-day period. Anyway, depending on how skillful this particular guy is, which usually does happen. It may not happen for everyone, but it happens. And then they're gonna be like, "Oh wow, then I never thought that would happen." Oh, don't think you're gonna get it again. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, hey, that's our show, people. Thank you all for tuning in. Please watch, comment, and comment, and subscribe. Another episode of Food for the Cultures and the Books. We'll be back next week with another show for you guys, and we appreciate you watching.
Absolutely, and shout out to Chloe. She actually sent us an update. So Rock and his entire family actually tested positive for COVID.
I saw that as well. I believe they tested positive. They've been tested positive, apparently, from what I read, and they're actually getting better now. So he didn't put it out when it first happened, apparently. So
with the PR team, how about that?
Yeah, so they're on the actual other side of it already, like getting better and stuff like that. So yeah, PR team is out there.
But all right, and talk to y'all later.
All right, good night.